This is the
preparing to
Hami
live
Media
stream
Group, YouTube, right?
Yes. Setting up your meeting, redirecting to YouTube. It looks like we are in. Ladies and gentlemen, it is August 20th. Well, we're talking August 19th, actually, the last NXT show before TakeOver 30. We're breaking it all down. It is I, Dr. Ted McNaylor, joined alongside young Grasshopper Colin, and we have a special guest contributor today, the man himself, MSG. Normally, we would see you on the Like the Fuse, which is the AEW Dynamite review. What?
Where am I?
Are you lost? Are you lost,
We got
young
to transfer a student from that all-elite school down the street, Ted.
What the hell is this?
Oh, that's what it is.
This isn't Like the Fuse?
No, man. This is the Next Level Wrestling review.
Fuck. How did I get here?
Wrong turn.
How did I get here? I do so many podcasts here on this network. I don't even know half the time where I'm at anymore. What's up, guys? Yeah, apparently I'm right here on the Next Level Podcast review with Dr. B and this guy who's a colon in my side. No, I'm just kidding. My buddy here, Colin Wysong. How you guys doing?
Good, man. Good to have you this morning. And so for those that are maybe tuning into the show for the first time, you normally each week review what I would say the best AEW review show online, Light the Fuse, every Thursday. However, this week AEW has been preempted, so now you're getting an opportunity to sit down and review NXT with us. So I'm actually really excited to have you because I really like when someone comes in and gets to talk with us that has not been consistently watching the product, because it's a different set of eyes, it's a different lens, and I'm hopeful that as we discuss the show here, you'll be able to provide some insights and kind of break down some of the differences on the NXT brand versus the AEW brand that you're normally used to reviewing. So very glad to have you this morning, MSG.
Yeah, I'm excited. I guess.
Any thoughts? Any thoughts right off the bat? I know the first thing you said before we were live on the air was it was a lot of wrestling.
There's a lot of wrestling, guys. I mean, and I'm not saying AEW doesn't have a lot of wrestling too. So before someone puts it in the comments or goes to Discord, I would agree that AEW has a lot of wrestling as well. However, I think that AEW has done a good job from a production standpoint, that they can hide some of maybe more of the focus, where it's just primarily wrestling for that first hour straight is what it was for the first half of this show. And I think they also do mix in other segments and video packages. They sprinkle things in there. So it's kind of keeping your attention just a little bit more. But there was a lot of wrestling here tonight, and there wasn't a lot of character explanation. I felt like this show was definitely catered toward the more of a diehard for that first hour. Like if you didn't know any of those people were, which I didn't know a good makeup of who those people were, there wasn't a lot of story you could follow along. It was just, you're watching two people wrestle. So I don't necessarily know what the stakes are for, nor do I know the background of the characters. So I can't create that emotional connection. So at that point, I'm watching two people wrestle for the sake of wrestling, which some people like. I mean, I'm not going to hate on that. But that's not definitely my overall appeal for me on why I'm watching pro wrestling. I want the whole show. I want the
certainly, and it's really about being emotionally invested in the character. And if you don't have an understanding of the characters, it's hard to get emotionally invested in it unless they give you that reason. So I'm actually
two times now, Dr. Ted. This is the second time I reviewed a show with you where I don't get Killer Kross really featured at all again. God damn it.
I know I think weren't you saying that was something you were excited for?
I was like, that might be the only silver lining here, that I'm going to get to see Killer Kross. I mean, I got to see a package, and I've gone back and watched his stuff on like YouTube. Like, I wanted to see something like heading into the pay-per-view, but we can get more into that when you get there, Mr. Wysong, because I'm sure that you're awfully quiet over there. How is your day going, buddy? Mr. Was it Random Pod Guy? The super producer now of Cage Theory, the guy who's trying to take my spot. No, I'm just kidding. What's up, dude?
There's no need to take spots around here. There's plenty of wrestlers that Ben can pull off the indies to get producers for. So,
right.
So
we're nothing.
We're okay over here. Yeah, we've got plenty of talent that can come in here. Ted, I just want to know, does this new student have his homework?
Yeah, I'm not your student. This is more like guest speaker or more like lost guy who's a stoner who end up in your class.
Dude, those all elite students that all they do is smoke weed all day and just hang out.
I didn't say that.
They're like the Fonz. They're the Fonz of wrestling, just slapping jukeboxes to get them started, hanging out in bathrooms at pubs and things like that.
I am part of an elite club, so.
But Dr. Ted, I do have my homework today, and I think it's going to be a good one.
Awesome. Well, let's not waste any time then. Let's get right into it. So, for those of you that don't know, each and every week we do a whole time. This wrestling review show is a little different than your traditional wrestling review show in that we try to utilize the experience and knowledge that I've had the good fortune to gain over the years, learning through OVW and everyone that I've had the good fortune to get knowledge through, from Rip Rogers to Al Snow, Joy Mercury, Nick Dinsmore, Rob Conway, just to name a few of the guys that have passed on knowledge to me. And so what we do is we actually break down the show similarly to how we would do OVW tape review and how the wrestlers would learn. And we go segment by segment and we break down, what was the business done, and were there other opportunities to perhaps do better business? And so one of the other things that I like to do just for the learning experience and education experience is to provide a homework assignment each and every week, which has been a lot of fun. A lot of you have written in your ideas, and I've actually been pretty impressed on some of these. Obviously, we break down, from a wrestling and booking standpoint, the parts of it that work or maybe don't work, and explain why. But it's been really, really interesting. So this week's homework assignment, as we go into NXT TakeOver 30, was to finish booking the last two competitors for the North American Championship ladder match that's coming up on Saturday, and also, for that match, who goes over for the North American Championship. And then I also asked you to provide the first number one contender or challenger for that North American Championship. So, Colin, since you are our young grasshopper, did you want to take a crack at it, MSG?
No, I'm just here to watch. Colin's got homework. Show us your work, Colin.
All right, so basically, these last two matches that we had Johnny Gargano versus Ridge Holland, and we had Finn Balor versus the Velveteen Dream. That first match, I was really, Ridge Holland. I like the fact that this guy, they put him out there. It's a way for him to get more fans and notice, and you can in a ladder match style situations with him beating Johnny Gargano here. They can hide, him getting a loss or a pin, because he has yet to take a pin, fall loss or anything like that in NXT. Like they've made sure to put that over how he's like, he hasn't been pinned or submitted or anything like that yet. And then in the other match, Finn Balor, Velveteen Dream, I feel like he's just a guy that he's had those bouts. He's a staple of that North American Championship. He was in the first ladder match. He's back again for the second time around to finally kind of get that gold belt that he's always kind of wanted.
What did you call it? What did you call it?
The gold belt.
You can't call it a belt, Colin.
Oh, that's right. It's a
championship.
Title. It's a championship title. Yes. And
did you just refer to the NXT title as the gold belt?
It's the gold belt here on the NXT brand, sir.
Horrible.
The satisfaction.
Listen, MSG, we do things a little differently on this show.
I would never even call any other title but Ric Flair's title the gold belt, though. Like, that just seems like...
No, that's the big gold belt. Okay. But I digress. Now, going into the winner of this ladder match, Ted, I think that the winner is, of course, a North Carolina native, the very own Cameron Grimes. He is going to take this title to the moon, Dr. Ted, and his first challenger is going to be that loser in the Velveteen Dream Finn Balor match. It's going to be Finn Balor coming to get his just desserts, coming to get what he wants. We're going to have Finn Balor really putting over Cameron Grimes for that first title defense to really put that next level championship to the moon right there, sir. That North American Championship all the way.
So this wasn't part of the homework because I didn't want to go too far into it, but I'm just curious. So you're seeing Finn Balor versus Cameron Grimes. Do you see Cameron Grimes continuing on at that point, or do you see Finn Balor?
I see Cameron Grimes continuing on. I mean, this is like we said last week, and somebody has been saying, this guy like reminds people of the Honky Tonk Man. So why not give him that Honky Tonk reign with the North American Championship down here. I mean, the promos that he can cut, the heelish nature that he has. I mean, there's so many great like face characters that he could have. Like, you got Bronson Reed, you got Damian Priest, you've got, I mean, even got like Ridge Holland playing off of Johnny. He could even out heel Johnny Gargano with Candice LeRae. I mean, that's just how slick that country boy Cameron Grimes is in that situation. So I've got fully invested in Cameron Grimes here.
Gotcha. And we talked a little last week about the possibility of that happening, and I like that pick, honestly, because I think in this situation, it being a ladder match is a good way for him as a smaller heel to somehow find a situation to where he can get away from some of these bigger guys in the match and go up and capture the championship, which gives him that much more heat because he didn't actually pin or submit anyone. He just managed to find the right set of circumstances that would allow him to win. So I do like that. And I'm always very big on baby faces chasing a heel for a title. So I think to that degree, Colin, I like that. MSG
I think also in the ladder match, you're going to see the way that Cameron wins is because Damian Priest and Bronson Reed are going to, they're probably going after Cameron Grimes, and then they realize they're right there with each other, and they kind of already have this big guy kind of hatred for each other. And I don't know if it's maybe more so of a competition type of hatred for each other. And they're going to just see each other and go straight for each other. And that's where Cameron Grimes is going to be able to sneak his way to the top.
Absolutely. I like it. MSG, I was going to ask, what are your thoughts on that? Did Colin pass his homework?
I mean, it sounds like he passed his homework as far as what he
passed it to you to turn it in.
I mean, it sounds like he, made a good effort from I guess, character and, his choice standpoint, his opinion. I'm not a big fan of what is he going by here? He was Caleb Conley. So
Cameron Grimes.
Cameron Grimes. Yeah, I just, Cameron Grimes, he's got a good look body-wise. He keeps himself in good shape, 100%, and he's a good wrestler. His character, though, it's just too, I don't know, it's weird for me. Like I get what he's doing. It's just, it doesn't seem like it's going to be it seems like it's going to need a really good storyline for me to get like a casual fan to really connect to him as a character. Because like I saw him in Impact, and I just feel like this character is just that character turned up even a little bit more. And when he was in Impact, he was more maybe the quieter type, but that same style of wrestling is still there. So I definitely feel like he's got a good voice on the mic. I just don't feel like long-term he's going to be like, I don't know, a big star unless he changes his look. He needs to cut his hair, trim the beard, do something. Like, I don't know. He just kind of comes off as too unkept, too grungy kind of looking. And I get that's people from the South. You guys are more from the Southern area, more so I don't know. So I can't relate to that. It just comes
and maybe that is the difference, because I am a Southerner.
Bojangles.
Yeah, exactly. There you guys.
But to counter that point, here what I would say is,
to counter that point, I'm from the Northwest, where you've got hipsters walking around, so I have nowhere to talk. So, you know what I mean?
What I was gonna say though is, can you think of anyone else really on the NXT roster, or anyone else that really has that look and feel to you know what I mean? That type
the other two guys that were that are in this match, besides Johnny Gargano, the Crimson guy, what's his name? Grimes, I'm sorry. And then you've got who's the other guy?
Bronson Reed, Damian Priest.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but there's a fifth guy. Who's the fifth guy?
Or is it Balor or Velveteen Dream?
Okay, so if you've got Dream and the other two people, like the other two smaller people, if you take them aside, Bronson Reed and Damian Priest, I was like, yo, I like these guys. Like, I mean, obviously I know who Punish Martinez is, so I was like, wow, he's looking really good here. And then this Bronson Reed guy, I was really impressed. This guy that, I had no idea who this guy was, but he was a big dude. And I was like, all right, I like this guy, Yeah. He looked like a typical pro wrestler when he came in and smashed on folks. So like, I can get behind that too. Right. It's just a powerhouse monster, typical storyline. So I think those two guys could be your future of that division. And I think you could spin them off. Like you could have one or the other wins it, or one of the other gets screwed by the other and loses it. And that they spin off into their own North American Championship, because I think you can do a couple. I mean, that Johnny Gargano match, who he fought against Ridge Holland at the beginning of tonight, which I guess I don't know when you guys are going to get in here, but I was like, man, This could just be its own feud itself. Like the way those guys were beating the crap out of each other. It's like, so like you could do that. You got Velveteen Dream and Finn Balor. They could do their own thing too. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do, right? Where you don't need the championship belt to be involved.
Absolutely. I think there could be multiple pieces of business in that North American Championship match. Say, someone else, whether it's Cameron Grimes or not, whoever wins the championships, two other guys can spin off into their own thing through it. And so I think there's going to be a lot of business done out of this. Colin, I did want to ask you, because the other part of the homework, obviously we asked people to name the winners prior to, did you have the correct picks? I'll take your word for it.
Oh no, I didn't have no, because I wanted Ridge. I wanted Ridge and Finn. Well, no, Velveteen Dream. I did one in there, but I think Ridge was the one that I had for the first match. But,
okay.
And did you want to go ahead and get into the emails for the?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have them pulled up? I have them pulled up. On my end.
Yeah,
okay,
I've got them. I've got them pulled up. I can go in.
Yeah.
This one is from Joe Atherton, the newest member of Hameen Media Group here, as he is now the new co-host of the Smack Attack. Dear
That's
Dr.
right.
Ted and Colin, I'll be much quicker this time around. Here are my picks and the reasonings behind each one. Gargano to defeat Ridge. Gargano is Mr. Takeover. You can't have one without him. Ridge is new to NXT, so to new fans, isn't that big a star. Takeover all about the cream of the crop, which is why I feel Gargano will win. Velveteen to defeat Finn. The WWE seems to love to reward real-life pieces of shit. I'm absolutely baffled on how they could bring this guy back with the allegations surrounding him, but I shouldn't be. So in true tone-deaf WWE fashion, dreams sadly to go over. The winner of the ladder match, Gargano, rebuilding NXT in his image, begins with reclaiming his North American title. His first opponent, if the rumors are true and certain phenomenal SmackDown superstar could be headed to NXT soon, who better than AJ Styles to feud with the heart and soul of NXT? Others. What do you guys think about
Wait, so I'm sorry, I got lost. So Gargano goes over, and then who's his first feud?
AJ Styles.
Wow. I mean, that would be, to me, that's a great matchup for sure. I mean, I would love to see those two have an opportunity to get into it together. What are you laughing at, MSG?
I tweeted out the link for the show, but the way I guess it captured as me as the background. So I'm
well, look at that.
I'm the background for your next level review right now.
You're over. Look at that.
I guess. Or not a lot of people are going to click the link. And that's what I was laughing at. I'm not laughing at Gargano. I thought he, seemed to be impressive. Like, I don't know. Everyone's all very high on Johnny Gargano. I watched him tonight. He seemed like another wrestler. He took a really bad, nasty bump.
Yeah. That was a scary moment.
We'll definitely get into that.
Yeah, I want to break that down as far as, especially talking about the mechanics of what happened and how it could have been avoided. And we'll certainly get into that. But I'm just glad he's okay. I love that matchup. I would say here would be my thoughts is simply Gargano over the last few weeks, MSG, he has made it known that him and his wife, Candice LeRae, want to have both the NXT championship as well as the women's championship, the men's and women's championships, to bring it to their own home. So to me, I feel like the North American Championship, sure, I think he can make obviously the match with AJ Styles, that's a main event caliber match right there. So I'm not discounting it. Maybe it will happen. And I would be just as excited to see that match if it were to happen. My thoughts, though, are with what he has established, at least on television the last few weeks, that with his sights going towards the NXT championship, I almost feel like, and we talked about it last week, that this may potentially, especially since Keith Lee has, Mia Yim by his side, I'd say you create a situation where Candice LeRae becomes the women's champion. Keith Lee, say something happens with Kross this Saturday and he retains. And then you have the opportunity to come up with, and I know some people might not like this or not, but to me, from a story standpoint, I think it could very easily head that way, would be into a mixed tag situation with both titles on the line. We have Keith Lee as the champion with Mia Yim against Johnny Gargano with Candice LeRae as the women's champion, but the winners will be the co-winners we'll get both championships. And that would be a sneaky way as Johnny Gargano, the heel, to end up going over. And that's where we talked last week. This would be one of the few situations where I think if you worked it correctly, you could do an actual intergender match where women can touch men and men can touch women. And then Gargano does something to pin Mia Yim to become the NXT champion, simply because I think the heat in that and not actually defeating the champion. I mean, that to me, that what a shithead, you know what I mean? To defeat a woman who isn't even the champion to become the NXT champion. I can see the heat in that. Will they go that way? I'm not sure, but to me, that's where I personally feel like I would go with Johnny Gargano. That being said, Athers, I think it's a great idea, and I actually hope you are correct, because that would be an incredible matchup, I think, to see Gargano and AJ Styles have a go on pay-per-view. Hell, I'd say give them a whole hour for all I care. I could really I think I could watch either of those guys wrestle all day.
Well, he is 2 for 2 right now, Dr. Ted, but we're going to get to I know this kills this man to write this short of an email. Hans. Our next one is from Hans.
Yeah, I knew it. I love hearing from Hans. I was worried because I didn't get his email until yesterday, so I was worried we weren't going to hear from Hans this week.
He was messaging me on Twitter, kind of giving me some of his ideas and things like that. But he is. I don't think he's not doing much boozy booking right now, Dr. Ted. He said he's not as loaded as usual, but I just remembered, still a couple hours before NXT starts here. Number 1, Finn and Ridge. Dream is still on thin ice, and Gargano has his shit with his wife. So basically, he's saying that Finn and Ridge are going to be the ones going over. And just as you said, Dr. Ted, of course, Gargano has those plans with his wife to go for that NXT championship. And then, of course, Dream, still on thin ice. But apparently that doesn't matter. Number 2 is going to be Cameron Grimes wins the ladder match. He doesn't give reasoning. He just puts the name. And then his first defense will be against Dexter Lumis, since Dexter Lumis was not able to compete in the ladder match, but he did win. So he kind of has that claim, and he just wrote names. So I'm kind of throwing this in there. Lumis does have that claim that, hey, I won that spot. I didn't get my chance because of injury. I want my shot. I want my opportunity, since that's kind of the key word here around this ladder match at the North American NXT Championship.
Interesting. So obviously it would depend on how far away Dexter Lumis is to returning from injury, and hopefully, soon. With a fractured ankle, you're looking at a absolute minimum of 6 to 8 weeks for soft tissue healing, but probably longer than that. So I would say it's probably unlikely. That being said, I actually really like that pick, simply because I think the dichotomy between Dexter Lumis, who's kind of a more reserved, he's got that manic character, but he's very kind of quiet and has the, just the gaze that he gives. And Cameron Grimes is obviously the more boisterous, over the top, loud character. So I think just the difference of those two in a feud would really paint a picture and really kind of establish both characters individually, because you would get to see the huge contrast in their characters. So I like that. I would, my concern obviously just comes from more of the medical standpoint and whether or not Dexter Lumis will be ready to go soon enough, and hopefully sooner rather than later. But I'd say, unfortunately, probably you're looking at least another couple months before Dexter Lumis is able to come back. Obviously wish him the best as he continues to rehab. But as far as a match and feud goes, I think right on the money. I think that's something absolutely could be very, very good. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
No, I like the booking overall. Have you had much time to watch like a Dexter Lumis MSG? Do you know, did the one episode that you did with Ted, kind of the first episode you guys did together, was Lumis on that show? Do you know Sam Shaw's work?
I don't remember. I don't remember if Dexter Lumis was on that show. I mean, I know, of course, who Sam Shaw is of Impact Wrestling when he played his Dexter character there, if you will. And then, of course, he has been in ring action against our own Greek god Papadon right here on Hami Media Group, as well as you can check out his brand new podcast, the New Force Order podcast, episode number 74, just dropped right here on hackerhami.podbean.com.
I don't know who shills more, MSG or Professor.
Well, I shill for Hami Media Group.
It's all about, you gotta work, gotta sell. It's all about selling.
Yeah.
Gotta sell.
I feel like
want to be a commentator, you
like
got to sell.
I feel like MSG and Cameron Grimes have a lot in common there. They're really good at just selling their brand and getting it out there and just selling.
And I'm sure MSG is thrilled with that comparison.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get
now,
started.
I want to give my thoughts real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ted.
Let me give his thoughts.
Well, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with anyone's thoughts and opinions. I think he can go several of these directions. My pick personally actually would be Damian Priest in this match. And the reason why, not Cameron Grimes, and again, I said I could absolutely see him as a valid win here because of the circumstances. That being said, I also think as a heel and just as a loudmouth character, he has plenty of ways he can get heat and go into a different feud. I don't think he necessarily needs a title to hold over other competitors' head to get his heat. I think he can get heat in a myriad of other ways versus someone like Damian Priest, who from the last big show came off a loss to Finn Balor. I feel like getting a win back here and starting to build up, he could be a large heel that other baby faces could go against and over time start to create heat, which again, heat is one of three things. It is either a desire, a want, or a need that you create for the audience. And I think over time with Damian Priest as a large heel, as long as hopefully he starts to work his size more, he can build a lot of good heat. And so that way, when the time comes for a smaller baby face to topple him for the North American Championship, then you've made a brand new baby face through that. So that would be my personal pick. And again, I'm not saying the other picks were necessarily wrong, but that would be my rationale for why I would like a Damian Priest, say, to win that championship in that match.
Hey, Dr. B, if Colin Weissong wanted to be a pro wrestler, he's already trained to be an improviser. If he wanted to be a pro wrestler, would you take him under your wing and would you mold him and shape him and turn him into?
Don't forget, I have a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background as well.
He's got a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background. Anyway, would you take him into make him Man Beast 2.0? Could you do that? Would that be a project for you?
Well, here's the thing is in order to properly train someone in the wrestling ring, you got to have a good bump guy. And I'm at a point in my career where I can't take the bumps like I used to. So yes, I absolutely will, as long as you, MSG, are willing to take the bumps.
No, you guys can get Silvio and Seidel down there. Let them take the, not Silvio.
He can't take bumps.
Yeah,
Seidel can take the bumps.
What are you trying to do to Silvio?
Seidel can take the bump, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
MSG has heat with Silvio. You heard it here
I'm
first,
not.
folks.
You're trying to set me up. I just bought his shirt. I just bought his brand new shirt. I don't got heat with Silvio.
All right.
Brand new shirt's coming. So I'm just saying.
All right. Well, we're gonna hop into this first match here. We've got the first North American Championship qualifier. We've got Johnny Gargano with Candice LeRae versus Ridge Holland, and Ridge Holland's. They're giving him the full entrance treatment. They're really putting the spotlight on this guy. And Ted, I think all three of us, this is really the first time we've gotten to watch singles action from Ridge Holland. And he came out like a beast, really just shoulder tackling, taking it to Johnny Gargano. And really the match didn't turn for Johnny Gargano until he hurt his neck after that botched crossbody, whatever they were trying to do there with that reversal. He played the neck up really well. They did the spot where, he's trying to get at him and the ref's like, no, Ridge, stay back. He's hurt. Candice is yelling at him on the outside. I was very worried after this spot because he looked like it really, really hurt. He was bothered by it. I thought they could have gone home right then and there, but no, they continued the match for another 5 or 10 minutes. It reminded me of, I think Hiromu Takahashi over in New Japan. You might know better than me, Schaffer, when he got his neck broken by Dragon Lee.
Well, I don't watch Karate Fighting Championship. Come on.
He continued the match for another good 15, 20 minutes afterwards. And Hiromu had a broken neck. There's no telling what could have been wrong with Gargano. And they still did work on the neck. I know you put heat on it, that type of thing, Dr. Ted, but from your perspective, if you really think a guy is possibly hurt, especially with his neck, is that something that you do? Do you go after the neck that way, or in your professional opinion, what are the precautions that you take there if you think that you've got a guy that could possibly be hurt like that in the ring?
Well, you would obviously, the first thing is make sure he's okay. And from what I understand, they stopped the show and had him medically examined and determined he was okay, and then continued on from there. So I wasn't there to do the evaluation, but assuming, I'm sure they have, the highest quality medical staff that cleared him. And so, if they cleared him to go, then I assume that he was good to go. You're absolutely right. If there was any indication or even thought that, he might not be okay, then no, we're done here. I would not have allowed the match to continue. That being said, to your point, I absolutely do feel like, given the circumstances and the situation, that would have been a hell of an opportunity to get some heat. And that's where sometimes organically you end up working into situations where, I'm not going to say it was necessarily a better situation, because someone getting hurt is never, that's always the worst case scenario, is someone actually getting hurt. That being said, the spot happened. He clearly, could have been legitimately fucked up. I would have personally, if I was booking the show, I said, all right, after we cleared him, I said, okay, we're going to continue to milk this. Johnny, you're okay. But so we're going to still milk the injury. Can you imagine if they would have had at that moment, and even Ridge looks like, oh shit, I may have ended this guy's career. That's when, you maybe have, Ridge trying to help him up, and they're trying to help him out of the ring. You have people do the respect clap. And then when the referee's not paying attention, that's when you have Johnny Gargano do the ball shot, which is essentially what they did for the finish, and then have him go over. Because that, to me, would have been way more heat than whatever pre-planned stuff they had the rest of the match. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if your all's thoughts, if you can necessarily feel that, if they would have just stopped there and milked the injury and then have Johnny Gargano do the fuck finish at the end. I just feel like that would have been so much more heat than doing a bunch of spots and then going into that ball shot finish. Because then by that point, we already forgot about that next spot, which was, a legitimate thing. And, there's so many times in wrestling that we really want to get the fans invested in the realism of it. Something real actually happened. Why not use that opportunity as a mechanism, a story mechanism, to get more heat on your antagonist? Personally, that's what I would have done.
Yeah, and I had a feeling that Candice was going to get involved in the match when she first came down. Of course, Johnny Gargano wins, as Dr. Ted said. He gets the nut shot in. He's able to get the DDT in for the win, and Johnny Gargano is moving on. Matt, did you enjoy this match? Is Ridge Holland somebody that you could see them putting some money behind and possibly maybe making a big star, whether here in the United States or over in the UK?
All right, so I've got a couple things, and I'm gonna ask some clarifying questions here.
Yeah, please, because this is your first time seeing the show in a while. You don't watch regularly, so yeah, I'm definitely curious to know what your thoughts were.
So my first question is, I missed the first minute of the show, so because I was just getting into the house. Did they do any like lead up or any like background on what was going to be on the show tonight, or any background on the Gargano Rich Holland prior match, or anything on Gargano's lead up? Because that's like, I came in to this match and I felt like I didn't the new guy, I'll give him a pass. He's a new guy, that he's developing himself. Okay, that's cool. Then everyone's on the same playing field I'm at this point. But Johnny Gargano, you explained all about that stuff earlier, like when you were talking about the emails about him potentially feuding with Keith Lee down the line and doing the mixed tag team match. None of that information I felt like was told to me. Like I had no idea about Johnny Gargano, whether he was a good guy or a bad guy here. Obviously, as the match played out, based on his mannerisms and how Mauro Ranallo tells a really good story of characters, I was able to gather, okay, Johnny Gargano is the heel here. However, I found that the match was a little anticlimactic as well. You mentioned you would have preferred to see maybe Johnny Gargano hit that super kick after kind of hazily acting concussed, and then the match ended there.
No,
and
no. Okay, I would have had him hit the ball shot. No, I would not have had him go strong on him. In fact, because I think they had Candice do the distraction. You can still absolutely do that. Again, I would have had the medical team and out, getting ready to help him up and out of the ring. The bell still hasn't rang to end the match, and even have Ridge, as somewhat of a baby face or just someone with good sportsmanship trying to help Gargano up. You have Candice pop up and say, "Hey, don't touch him, asshole. That's my husband," or something like that. And then
see that, and that was another thing is I gathered that Ridge was his mannerisms were very heel like as well. Him, kind of how he moved about around the ring and yelling at Candice. I was like, that's not really babyface. So like it felt like it was two heels wrestling. what I was going to say though was I think it would have made sense to me personally as the viewer if Johnny Gargano had, after he had gotten up, from taking that huge bump, if he had got that desperation super kick and that's how he won. That would have made more sense to me personally, because it would have been out of that desperation move. And then you would have also been asking, is he okay? Like, or was he faking it this whole time? And did he set it up and take or capitalize on the situation? Yeah. So you know, at that point, Rich is still going to lose. I mean, I get the whole, what you're saying. You want,
now, to your point, they did not have to do the ball shot, but I still would have had, I still feel you still have to find some mechanism to get more heat, because just hitting a move and
she could have done the ball shot, and then he could have done the super kick too. It could have been all of that as well.
Or just a distraction. If he would have sold it and then Rich Holland just started to go towards him to check on him, doesn't even necessarily have to put out a hand like he's helping him. And then that's when Candice jumps up and say, you get away from him, he's hurt, blah, blah, blah. And that split second of distracting him, then sure, then Gargano could have popped up, hit the super kick. That's the finish. So we're just splitting hairs as far as that goes.
Right, exactly.
But yes, I would have had some way to say, okay, clearly he's an asshole. He took advantage of a situation. I think popping up and just hitting him almost is too strong, but having a distraction or something of that manner, then he hits the super kick is going to at least give him a little more heat there.
I agree. And I also felt that the match then went on a little bit too long after that, because all I could think about it was, is he actually hurt? And is he now working hurt? Like, that's stupid. What are you doing? Like, so like, I mean, and there's something to be said about that as well. I'm not saying that's not, emotionally captivated. Like, I'm sitting there like, is Gargano actually hurt? So like, from his perspective, like, he's got me, like, I'll give him credit there. But from maybe a professional standpoint, as far as the doctors and refs out there, maybe an audible should have been called, because that was a pretty nasty bump, man. Like, he came down hard. Colin?
Yeah. Well, I think like what Ted said is, since these are tape shows, they definitely checked on him to make sure that he was okay, and then kind of inserted it in. It was like, all right, just play up the neck and everything.
Well, the referee checked on him. Is the referee a doctor? Does the referee know how to give concussion-based testing?
Well, they do the hand squeeze. That's enough to know whether or not you're concussed and okay.
And again, that's where I think once they found out he was okay, I think it would have been much more compelling television to not have done the match and spend a few minutes checking on him and showing the tests. You know what I mean? And this is obviously after they make sure he's okay, legit. You know what I mean? And have show them checking his eyes and checking his hands, and that's something like
too real, Ted. Yeah, it's too real.
Too real. Well, that's what I would have done, especially as a doctor. I would have gone in there and actually done an examination on him and just really made people at home go, oh fuck, is he going to be okay?
Everybody at home was already going, oh fuck, when they saw that botch, so they got to continue.
I'll tell you what, I agree.
Until he got up and started doing spots, and then you didn't necessarily feel that same emotion. You know what I mean? As soon as they started getting 5 minutes to wrestling, then
I would have taken 5 minutes of that emotional connection over the wrestling. Like if them checking on him, like worrying what's going on. Like, wow, okay, is Johnny Gargano going to be, this is great to start off the show. Is this guy done? Is this real or is this not real? Like, there's that dynamic, that blurring the sense of reality there, especially when it comes to a head injury, that I think could have been told there.
And that's the thing that I think sometimes is hard with WWE being such a machine, and now everything is played out as far as at this moment in time we're going to be at this camera angle, this is the exact thing that's going to happen, versus there's something that's just so powerful and emotionally raw with saying and being okay with getting rid of your pre-planned stuff that you've spent a lot of time on and say, hey, we have something in front of us that's a lot better than anything that we wrote. Let's run with this instead. And it's hard because, something happens, say on a movie set, you're not going to change the movie for it. But when you have live television and trying to emotionally invest an audience into what is happening in the ring is an athletic competition and things can happen, this was a good opportunity to draw viewers in with that sense of realism, especially again, after, I want to be clear, after they made sure he was okay, and then utilize that as a moment to really invest the viewer emotionally into what's going on.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And I had a feeling when Candice LeRae came out with Johnny that she was going to play a role in this match, just because she hadn't been coming out with him for any of these other qualifying matches before. So and again, the knowledge that you and I have about Ridge that Matt doesn't, that he hasn't been pinned or submitted or anything like that. Again, they would have to kind of play in that booking to somehow keep him strong. And I was very surprised that he took the pin. I thought he was going to win and go forward with this. I mean, they build another kind of bigger guy to, once NXT UK is back up and running, you can slot him back in and have a big star that Americans would know, as well as the UK audience. But we're going to jump into Dakota Kai.
Real quick. Sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but MSG did earlier. You had mentioned watching this match that you could foresee these guys going on and doing something together. I would foresee, and my guess would be is these two are going to continue on, and actually, hopefully, they do at least play up what happened at this point. Granted, it would have meant a whole lot more had they, milked the injury like we talked about. But I would foresee these two continuing on at this point, because it was not a clean win for Johnny Gargano here, and so I would see Gargano possibly having to go through Ridge Holland first before continuing on his quest to become the NXT champion.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
We've got Dakota Kai versus Jessi Kamea, and MSG. You were the only one that didn't know who Jessi Kamea was, as Dr. Ted and I had no clue. This is a new NXT superstar for us to go about. But
I have no idea who either of these people were. By the way,
she didn't last very long against the new heelish Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai goes over, and then we get Io Shirai coming out to confront Dakota Kai as Dakota Kai is cutting a promo on it. And this poor defenseless Dakota Kai, who's been wanting to do it on her own, unfortunately is not doing it on her own, as Raquel Gonzalez comes out from the back and just viciously attacks Io Shirai, picks her up, carries her to the ring, throws her down on her face, and the two heels of this dynamic relationship just go to town on Io Shirai. They walk up the ramp victorious, and we pretty much end this segment with Raquel Gonzalez and Io Shirai, or Dakota Kai, standing tall here. This was very shocking, very Swerve. I mean, Ted, they've had us the whole entire time thinking that she was going to do this by herself. I mean, we thought this was a whole new Dakota Kai. Like, hey, we're going to shelve Raquel. We're going to do, I mean, this is a big Swerve, and I'm looking forward to seeing Raquel get involved in this takeover match and seeing how Io is going to be able to overcome. Because I still think that the money is behind having Io have this title, and kind of throwing people at her. I just see that if Kai does win this match on Saturday, it is going to be because Raquel got involved.
Certainly. Before I give my opinion, actually, as we go forward, I only because I don't want to bias or sway his opinion, I'm going to actually, for these segments, toss it to MSG first, only because I think there's a lot of value in you having not otherwise been a consistent viewer, giving what your thoughts were based on what was on your television screen for the first time. So what were your thoughts on this, MSG, besides not knowing who Kamea was? Which I will say, I think that was at least because of the business here, it was a moot point, because obviously her involvement really, in the end, didn't really matter as much.
Right. I mean, I didn't know who Dakota Kai was either. So like that, I mean, that's okay, I guess. So I'm not saying every wrestler needs to be telling me who they are, but I did know that she was in this case. The match was a typical good women's match. I'm not gonna. I don't want to criticize the wrestling aspect of it. I thought there was some good, interaction between the chemistry between the girls in the ring. The aftermath with Raquel Gonzalez. Is that what her name?
Yeah, Raquel.
Yeah, dude, she's a beast. She came out and she stole the scene. Like, I was like, man, this chick's a monster. And I mean that in like a sexy, elegant type of way too, because she's not like, nasty to look at or anything like that. She's just a very tall, built, muscular woman. You know what I mean? Like, she seems like she's part of this new generation of women that seem to be cropping up more now in the independent wrestling scene, where you've got these muscular, fit, body built women who are not only attractive but also in peak physical form. So she came out, dude, and dominated here and took out that other chick and took out the Io Shirai, took her head off, and then threw her down. I was like, yeah, this is awesome. So as a casual viewer, that got me. So that was good. That was good. The business here, as far as the match, at the aftermath of getting Dakota Kai and her new partner over, her new associate. It worked. It got me hooked into it. So the business here worked, if you will.
Yep. And so I like hearing that, especially because what you may not know is the last few weeks, Raquel Gonzalez has been missing in action. And prior to that, as I've spoke with Colin on the show previously, I felt like Dakota Kai's heat was in, she has the monster behind her that helps her take care of business. But the last few weeks we hadn't seen her. I don't know whether was not an explanation. My guess is perhaps something with COVID or something may have gone down. That's me hypothesizing. I really don't know. So don't blast that all over the sheets. But either way, she was gone. She was gone without an explanation. But here we saw she came back, and absolutely it puts that heat back on Dakota Kai. And so I will be interested to see where they go here on Saturday, because on one hand, I could see Kai having a really good run, and it comes down to what babyface is going to be able to go through Dakota Kai with the monster Raquel in her corner to overcome. That being said, it also would be a hell of a win to solidify Io Shirai and continue her momentum as she potentially and assumedly works her way towards the main roster on Raw or SmackDown. So I could honestly see either way them going with this, and neither would be a bad decision. It really depends on what is the business that they are looking towards. Are they looking towards building heat on Dakota from this point forward, or are they looking to continue to build Io Shirai's momentum as champ? And that's where I'm not privy to those discussions, so I don't know. But I think really either way, you could justify either, and I think both would be good pieces of business personally.
Yeah, no, I think one of the things that MSG said earlier in the first match is that Morrow really did a good job of telling the story, and I think he did a really good job of kind of putting over that Dakota Kai was probably playing us and playing everyone in NXT with the fact that she wanted to go it alone, because that was one of the first things he said. Is he was like, oh, she was lying, like she knew that she was going to do this the whole entire time, like Raquel was just waiting, so again, Morrow, being the great commentator that he is, like really tried to solidify those story elements just to add that extra layer to the storyline. Because Ted, we talk about this. Referees don't necessarily get enough play in what they do in the match and stuff like that. And I feel like commentators don't necessarily get enough. Like you could probably do a show where it's like, all right, did the commentator really put the business over here? That type of thing. And people would probably eat that up as well. They're for their love of commentators. I don't know. Like you said, I don't know where they can go from this with Io Shirai. Like, who is her next, building stumbling block or roadblock in her way to the main roster if she does beat Dakota Kai, or do we see her lose to Dakota Kai and she chases Dakota Kai for maybe one or two pay-per-views before she can finally get that next comeuppance? Or do you see someone like I know Shotzi and Ripley are busy with the Robert Stone brand at the moment, but could you see those two maybe kind of slowly working their way towards if Dakota Kai were to win, maybe Dakota Kai Raquel with Rhea Ripley and Shotzi Blackheart?
I think you could find ways to make any of those work. I think the person that has been built up the most on this show, longevity as far as having that journey towards that NXT Women's Championship is who I spoke on earlier, and that'd be Candice LeRae. And so she's someone I feel like is waiting in the wings for that opportunity. So that's where I feel like, at least from what I've seen, it seems like they're building towards that. And I feel from a writing standpoint, I probably would at some point in the next couple of months find a situation to make that happen, especially because that also not only advances that story. I think for Johnny Gargano as an individual, how much more obsessed is he going to be to become that NXT championship if his wife is able to succeed on her half of the battle of becoming the first couple of NXT, but he still doesn't have championship gold around his waist? And you know what I mean? That to me, I'd see him becoming much more frenetic and frenzied and trying to find an opportunity to get that title. That being said, I think any of those women could certainly, put on a great match and have a good feud with Io Shirai. I just foresee, based on the stuff they've built in previous weeks, that I feel like at some point it's going to be Candice LeRae to go over for that NXT Women's title.
Matt, did you have anything else on this match and in this little bit of a segment here?
No, but I do want to put it over there. We got about 5 or 6 people right now watching us live here on YouTube and Hami Media Group. So shout out to Piers Austin, Chef Fandango with the thing, anonymity 1981. Joe Lamaya says I need to get some. Apparently, I was maybe a little too politically correct explaining women's figures. I don't want to get myself in trouble here. And Jerome Hall says, "Good morning, everyone." So thanks for watching, guys, live right here.
I think he says, "MSG, you need some sun. You need some sunlight, MSG."
No, I think see, I took it more as like slang, like MSG, you need some sun. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to get some sun. Like, that's how I read it.
Get that,
maybe you need to get some out in the sun.
I mean, I did see little googly heart eyes come out of Matt's face when he was talking about Raquel Gonzalez there. So who knows?
I got a Latin thing. I'm into Latin girls. What can I say?
MSG likes to be dominated.
Hey,
I'm not gonna go there.
Me and 10 guys will take Shamrock, so you know I'm into groups settings.
We go backstage. We've got this show's going off the rails. I got to get it back on the rails, guys. We go backstage. Tegan Nox says she is ready to talk to LeRae, try to fix whatever's wrong with their friendship. It's important to her.
That's the chick I was asking. Sorry, not to interrupt. It wasn't the El Mayo chick backstage. I asked this in the chat room during the show. Nobody would answer. It was like, they didn't explain who this lady was, what was her name, and what the hell she was doing. She was just like, Candice is my friend, and I think that we haven't been friends for a long time, but now I'm ready to be friends. So let's get together and be friends. Sorry, I just had to interject in here. Thank you for telling me what her name was.
Someone tell Ben Hameen, I want MSG on one of these improv theaters to be the new New Zealand wrestler or Australian, I forget where she's from, but the new wrestler that's coming in, and they're trying to get you to fix your accent. Yeah. That's your accent. I like that. That's my pitch. Someone tell him.
If Piers Austin's listening right now, he just turned it off due to that.
I know. He's like, yeah, not to be confusing. Yeah, Australia, New Zealand. He's like, fuck that, mate. Just turn that right off.
Fuck that, mate.
Fuck that guy. God comes on my next level podcast review, tries to do my own impressions. Yeah, fuck him. Yeah, get off my show. Yeah.
Well, I don't think they're going to be friends here because Candice.
Oh, LeRae... I'm very off. She's Welsh, apparently.
Oh wow, she's Welsh.
I'm going to get a lot of heat. Go ahead and send your emails.
Athers is raging at the computer right now, rage typing like I'm going to get these guys. So we go next to Legado del Fantasma versus Breezango.
I did at least want to touch on the promo of Tegan Nox because to your point, MSG, at no point, I'm assuming here based on what you're saying, you did not feel any kind of emotional investment in that promo or really have an understanding of what was going on.
No idea what the hell was going on, and just went back to her, and they expected me to know what her name was. They didn't even put up a little graphic that said Tegan Nox or who she was. I'm like, who the heck is this person?
Yeah, with maybe her Twitter handle or something.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
And I'd say the other part of that is just from the emotional investment standpoint. The positive is I think she did a really good job memorizing her lines. Unfortunately, that's also the problem in that there was no emotion in that. And again, I felt the same thing. I watched it and I would say it's one of those situations where it goes back to Wrestling 101, what I would tell the guys at OVW all the time, cut promos in the mirror and don't stop until you start believing your own shit. And if you can't convince yourself and get emotionally, you should be able to look in the mirror and cut promos and within a few minutes become emotionally just fatigued from spilling your heart and soul into it. If you can't do that and really emotionally invest yourself into what you're saying, how are you going to expect anyone watching to get emotionally invested? And I say that as someone who thinks that I think she has a lot of talent. I really do. She needs to, if she wants to become a star and really have people all around the world clamoring to see her, she has to become more emotionally invested in herself and find out who she is. And it comes down to looking in the mirror and practicing each and every day. So I just want to at least go off on that a little tangent there. So simply because I think it was and seemingly irrelevant, that's an issue. She could have spent that 30 seconds and been like, holy shit, the rest of the show is fine, but that 30-second Tegan Nox promo, oh my God, I can't wait to see what she does next. You know what I mean? And I didn't get that at all. It seemed like a very much a throwaway promo.
I would agree.
I agree there too. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I would agree. You know, I obviously I'm not a professional at this point, but you know, throughout my adolescence through college, you know, I acted, and you know, one of the things I did was sometimes you just look up other scripts and you just practice reading lines and trying to capture those emotions.
Great idea.
And that's something easily that anybody can do, and it's free. Just look up scripts and sit in the mirror. And you know, especially if you've seen the movie already too, you know what the character's emotion was in that scene, so you can try to emulate or form your own style as well based on just, you know, practicing other different scenes. Anyway,
that's kind of what Henry Winkler's character does in the show Barry on HBO. He has like them reading like monologues and choosing like, all right, guys, you're going to choose a monologue next week that's going to come in and fit this criteria, and then they come in and they do the monologue and stuff like that. Which Barry's a great show. It's go check Barry out if you haven't already seen it. But we're gonna get into Legado del Fantasma versus Breezango and Isaiah Swerve Scott here. This is
Swerve, whose house? Swerve's house. Sorry, I'm a big Swerve fan.
Yeah, no, I am too, and I think he's got a lot of potential here in NXT. They like him. He has the one win over Santos Escobar right now. I wanted to call him King Cuerno. He has the one win over Santos. They keep pushing that and pushing that and pushing that. This is a good little blood feud match. I mean, Breezango, all these guys just hate each other. And this was a fun match. Legado del Fantasma goes over eventually, and we saw a little bit of some craziness here in this match. Swerve gets kicked into Tyler Breeze, who's on the outside. He knocks Breeze off, but the ref registers the tag. Swerve hits the finisher, tries to get the pin, but the ref is adamant that he is not the legal man. And we get Santos Escobar gets back in the ring, gets the finisher, gets the pin. And afterwards, he showed like his head was really hurting him. And I was trying to watch back where like he possibly could have hurt himself, because it was one of those moments. As soon as he got the pin, he just grabbed the back of his head. And the whole time they were celebrating, he was just really kind of selling the back of the head. So hopefully he doesn't have a concussion or anything there from something that he did. But Ted, the business of this match, it was a fun little match. I still feel like they're building Legado del Fantasma to just keep wrecking people, to be this new undisputed era that they have down here in NXT. What did you think of kind of that weird tag bump spot? I mean, is that something that normally, like, is that something that you guys would have done in OVW? Is this something that you've seen before as kind of a way to get heat, or kind of like a weird way to book a finish in a match?
Well, yeah, having the wrong guy get the
but off of the bump though, like, because I've never really seen it where it's like, oh, I got bumped into the guy, we're automatically tagged into the match kind of thing. Because you see that a lot where guys do touch each other over in the corner, but the ref never just like registers the tag.
I have done it before. Usually it's done in a situation where you're building an angle between the two guys. Like you've already planted seeds that they may not be on the same page. And then something happens where they knock heads in the corner and the referee goes tag, and it's what the hell. And it causes the baby faces to lose. But then that is basically a mechanism to enhance the story as a tag team. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily get the sense that they're looking to break up Breezango here. That being said, that I wasn't completely, I guess, upset about it just because it was different and it was a little more unique way to get the heels a win. That being said, though, if it was confusing or seemed off to you as a viewer, I would say likely there's probably others that may have seen the match and maybe not have, I guess, absorbed it the same way. That being said, I still felt like it was an underhanded way for the heels to go over, and thus I still think the business got done in getting them heat, but based on what you're saying, perhaps maybe it could have caused confusion in the viewer's eyes versus heat. And that's, again, we've talked on this before on this show. You never want confusion to be the emotion. It can be intrigue, but not confusion. So that's where maybe it wasn't as, I guess, definitive giving him heat as it could have been. That being said, I still think to some degree, because it was kind of not the cleanest of ways to win. It was kind of, not, I guess, clear, on exactly what happened until they kind of explained it as it was happening. Perhaps they may have, going another way, may have given him more heat. I'm just not sure off the top of my head exactly what I would have done necessarily differently, other than your traditional, heels find a way to cheat to win. You know what I mean?
And I missed it on the first watch through. You miss where the ref does the tag. It's like when they showed the replay and you actually see it, and they're kind of focusing in on it. That's when you actually see it. But in the speed of the match, you really miss, him slapping his hands and doing the tag motion kind of thing. So I just kind of thought that, he got bumped off the ropes because they were going for that hot tag. Like, he's trying to get out there to get out because he's been getting beat up, but confusing spot, still a fun match.
And so to that point, and I hear I'm spitballing here. That's what I like on this show is literally we start talking through things as they come up. Perhaps then maybe they could have made it more clear to the viewer. Hey, they tagged. Hey, I don't think Breeze realizes he's legal. You know what I mean? And then playing that up so that way when Swerve goes for the cover, everyone at home is going, "You're not legal." You know what I mean? And versus the wrestlers, they clearly don't know. And so that I think could have given them more heat, because then at least you've educated the viewer that the heels are taking advantage of the situation versus being like, "Oh, I didn't realize they tagged," and then showing it afterwards.
Because when he went for the pin, I was very confused as to why the ref was not like counting, and he was kind of like you could see Scott was trying to reposition himself. So I was like, okay, well maybe he doesn't have his shoulder down, maybe he's like not on top of him. Like as way he should be, and the ref's like, "No, you're not." Like, no, and then I heard him say like, "You're not the legal man." I'm like, "Oh."
And at least the ref said that. And shout out to Stephon Smith. He's actually a OVW guy as well. He's a really good hand, and I don't fault him at all here, because really it should have been, as we talked about, it should have made it more visual to the viewer, and that's really on the producers to get that shot and then to have the announcers put that over. Now again, though, if they weren't smart up to it or told that, hey, we need to make sure we put this over, then you can't have that expectation, because perhaps they wanted the commentators for whatever reason to be just as confused, and maybe they wanted it to be more of a confusing thing. But personally, and this is just my MO, is whatever is happening needs to be clear to the viewer. And again, confusion doesn't sell tickets. Intrigue does, but confusion does not, unfortunately.
Now, MSG, I have a question for you, because as I was watching this match, as a guy who has covered Impact and has watched a lot of Impact, what do you think of DJZ's character now as this like cartel like bad guy? Did you ever like watching him, have you ever like seen it in him? Because I don't know a lot about DJZ. Looking at it from his character coming over into NXT, it always seemed like he would have been a face, like he's that happy-go party guy kind of thing. Is this something like a different look for him for you? Is this something, do you like there's like they've got an edge on a guy like him?
So, first off, of course, I'm a big Swerve fan. He is, of course, from the Pacific Northwest here in Washington. And if you ask any Defy Wrestling fan, who built Defy, it's Shane Strickland. It's the house that Shane Strickland built here in the Northwest. That being said, Colin, I didn't know that was DJZ. And this was actually my second point I was going to bring to you. I have no idea what was the name of this Fantasma del Taco.
Legado del Taco Bell.
Racist MSG. You can't say that.
I'm just saying. I guess whatever. I'm a quarter Chicano and a quarter Italian. Right. I can say whatever I want. That's America. So yeah, I don't know who these people were. They looked cool. Like they looked like badasses. I'll give them that. They looked like they were coming. Like the cartel came out, and I was like, "Whoa, this is pretty cool." Like at that point, I actually didn't even want to see a match. Like I thought they were just gonna get in there and just beat the shit out of him. Like that's kind of what I thought this was going for. But the match wasn't bad. But which one was DJZ? Like I couldn't even tell. Like I that's how this match wasn't that memorable to me in that regard. As you pointed out, the confusion, both of you guys talked about a little bit of the confusion at the end with the tag team. That kind of took me out of it as far as how it broke down there. Because I was like, wait, why you guys screw Shane Strickland out of this? So I wasn't very happy about that. So
now, and since it is a tag team match, as we spoke on the Impact Attack yesterday, I'm put out a challenge.
One more thing I have.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask one more thing. This came before the Pat Buck segment, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right before it.
And this was another thing too, unfortunately, is at this point, we're about 55, 60 minutes into the show. And it was starting to really weigh on me, a lot of the wrestling. So I'm going to be completely honest. I wasn't fully 100% into this match. So just because I was starting to feel a little Like a lot of the wrestling was just weighing on me. There wasn't any of a breakup there with segments or video packages, you know,
and it's interesting.
My palate.
Yeah. And it's interesting you say that because I think I hear a lot of people complaining about we need more wrestling, but too much of a good thing can be too much. Because certainly you want to have a variety of things going on, whether it be promos and whatnot. And certainly there can be the opposite problem where you have way too much talking in segments and not enough wrestling. And so perhaps this was a situation where in order to keep the casual viewer interested, they could have done more splitting it up, whether it be with promos or video packages or things like that. But I wanted to harp on the tag team aspect of this because on the Impact Attack yesterday, I think I've issued this challenge a few times now, and I'm going to do it more consistently every time I see a tag team match until I finally see a proper hot tag. And this is different than any other internet challenge. Usually internet challenge, you have thousands, if not millions of people participating. I just want one. I want
hot tag marketing by Rick Vickery.
One proper hot tag. We saw in this match, all of the heels get taken out, and then the babyface made the tag. Well, who gives a shit because all the other heels have been taken out? You know what I mean? It's like, it's simple psychology. And I don't know why. I don't know if something, something has changed as far as why wrestlers aren't.
It's like the business has evolved, Ted. Okay, you're like part of the old generation. This is like the new generation. Okay, we're gonna do what we want. We're changing wrestling. Fuck the rope. Fuck the tag rope. We're not gonna do that anymore.
We're not. No more hot tags. We're not using tag belts. It's the new era of wrestling.
Heels and body fosses are done. Everybody go online and tell them your real name.
God, see
take pictures of yourself.
Guys, I was telling you about them. God.
All elite
guys. They have no respect
for Ted.
Either way, if I can see one proper hot tag, I will sing your praises to the moon. You will win the hot tag challenge.
All right,
I don't care what promotion, WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor, AEW, I don't care. Show me a hot tag in 2020. Tell me there's still hope for tag team wrestling in 2020.
That's your extra credit this week, guys. We want to see your viral hashtag hot tag challenge. You do it with your friends. We want to see we want to see a proper hot tag. Others, if you're locked in your house and your dog has to get that hot tag and you come rolling in hot, whatever you got to do. What I want to see, Hans, get out there and record a hot tag. We got to make this thing viral. Hot tag challenge 2020, Ted. Come on.
Make it happen.
Get on board with it. Let's make.
I mean, really, I was gearing this towards the wrestlers that are wrestling, but if people want to make up their own vignettes and promos of making up a hot tag and what they think it is, I'm all for it because I think that would be absolutely entertaining and hilarious. But I legitimately want to see a hot tag on one of these shows one of these days.
If you are in quarantine and you're hanging out by yourself, just take a video camera, shoot yourself like you're doing one thing, and then change your clothes like you're on the ground, and then just hot tag into yourself. I'm giving you some production secrets. Like I was gonna do that. That sounds like some work. So here's my scene. You're in the kitchen. Maybe you're cooking with your shirt off. Some quote unquote oil spills on you. You go, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. You fall to the ground, and then all of a sudden your other self comes in with clean clothes. And you slowly crawl and tag yourself in to finish the meal. So there you go. I just gave you an idea.
That's a great one.
Fantastic.
That's a great one. All right. So we actually no. Now I will say this. MSG and I do have this in common with the wrestling. I like the vignettes. I think that's one of the things that really helped the Attitude Era was it was the mix of wrestling and vignettes, and it wasn't just straight talking all the time. It was Stone Cold throwing a title into off the bridge. It was all these backstage things that they used to do, and I feel like AEW does do a lot of that and does do a lot of that right. NXT probably could do a little bit more here. Like he said, it was very wrestling oriented this show. We have had a few more vignettes kind of recently, especially with the Karrion Kross kind of thing. Like we got the pre-film package for that one, but they had been doing some of that stuff. But I have to agree with MSG here. I do feel like this show probably could have maybe one more segment in the beginning here to kind of break up all of the
No, you're right. From a writing standpoint, you have to take into account for that. And I think it really comes down to context. The stuff that isn't wrestling provides context for the wrestling, so that way you care about the wrestling more. But I think it also goes back to, like we talked about earlier, had they, and again, it's not something you would have written, but the real life situation with Gargano, that at least had they milked that into a finish, would have at least broken up the rest of the long wrestling match that they had after that. Again, not that anything they did wrestling wise was bad after that, but again, it was undermined by the fact that they had a real moment where they could have really, again, had a huge opportunity to emotionally invest a viewer. And then at that point, seeing all the other wrestling that they had up until that point maybe would have been more palatable, because we didn't just see another wrestling match. You know what I mean?
I want to interject here as well. I think that another thing they could have done, which is just very easy, very easy production trick to do, they could have just shown maybe more B-roll of them. Like, I think that's a lost art form. Guys walking into the arena, getting ready, training there, pumping up, doing your match. AEW I think it does a really good job of that. Granted, they're in an arena, so they have more of the space to give you that visualization of them walking through the parking lot, arriving to the arena, or coming into the gorilla position. But WWE, being, the long, company, I was going to say illustrious company, the lineage, the now, then, forever, that's something that they've been doing for decades. Like, you can go back and just watch Attitude Era stuff. Stone Cold Tears walking into the arena, that got you pumped. So, like, just simple things they're not doing. That's, like I said, that's an easy production trick, especially on a recorded show, right? I mean, it's not like you have to hit something on the switcher to, like, change camera angles at this point. You can just edit that in, and moreover, now look and say, coming up next, while they're just walking, while they're showing that footage, right?
Absolutely. I agree.
So we actually we go backstage to what Matt is talking about, and we have Pat McAfee showing up with AJ Hawk and Darius Butler. And then there was one other.
Not Pat Buck, as MSG was.
Yes, not Pat Buck.
What? What's his name?
Pat McAfee.
You're thinking of McAfee. Pat Buck, who is involved in a feud with Nia Jax on Raw. He's the producer. He's an OVW guy as well.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of Pats going around. No more Pats.
A lot of Pats. There's a lot of patting going on around here. We go to this.
Pat yourself on the back, Colin.
Segment here. We're getting more Cole and McAfee facing off here. They've got the security on the outside. Basically, McAfee cuts a really great promo talking about how he has made $1 million in 7 different businesses, and Adam Cole better watch out, because he'll make this his 8th one, which I'm pretty sure he's probably already made $1 million in professional wrestling. And then, Cole starts to walk out, gets into his face. The security gets in. Now, this was set up to make Cole look a little bit more badass than what he was. He takes out like 4 or 5 guys in one swoop, gets into Pat McAfee's face. And this was like a production thing that you're talking about. They really got like the audio changed for this. Like, instead of like sounding like 2 guys talking in an arena, they really got up close, and it was very like, almost like if you were just standing there out on the street, standing right there behind Pat McAfee as Adam Cole was in his face. And he basically told him that come Saturday, he was going to make him his bitch. And Undisputed Era walks out, just talking junk. The NFL players looking like they want to get in the ring, which I don't know how in a ring ready those other guys are. I mean, it looked like we were definitely set up for like Teddy Long to come down and say, I smell a 8-man tag match, playa, and then we were going to get an 8-man tag match right there on NXT with the NFL guys versus the Undisputed Era. Are you MSG, going to you, not having seen any of this, kind of knowing a little bit about their feud, because I'm sure you saw the Pat McAfee blow up thing with Adam Cole on their show or whatever. Did this little segment get you even more excited for possibility? Like, as someone who doesn't watch it, would you want to watch this match at NXT TakeOver? Like, as an AEW watcher, as somebody who doesn't really keep up with the product, is this drawing you in to watch on Saturday?
So a couple things. First of all, I think that the second hour of television was like, I felt like it was totally produced and directed by somebody else. Because I felt like the second hour of NXT was so much better, especially with this, how they started right in the middle of, having to come out. A couple things. I liked how Pat really put over Adam Cole. You were you were undefeated for 400 days. You beat all these people, blah, blah, blah. So he really built Adam Cole up and then was like, I'm a badass though, and what are you gonna do when I come in here and I make you my bitch, or I make you look less than who you are in your own career, your own, field itself that you've been dedicated, your craft. So I really liked that. I liked that Pat really, put himself over to a point as far as his background, cut a great promo. Obviously Rip Rogers guy, that's the wrestling 101, right? Is as the heel you want, or I don't know if he's the heel in this situation, but as the guy you're taking on, you want to put that other guy over. You don't want to shit on him because you want to make your victory, if it ends up being there, worth something. So I thought he did a good job there. I liked Adam Cole's, his whole ninja, his ninja fighting he did there with the 4 or 5 reps where he took them all out like a kung fu movie. And I liked them using the camera mic, as you mentioned there, rather than an actual live mic, to pick up the little conversation there between Adam Cole and Pat there at the end. I didn't pick up on that. I mean, just because I know, maybe it's just I'm a wrestling fan, I never got the idea that the other NFL players were going to jump in. I figured they would do some sort of way to kind of hide them. They have no background and no training, so I don't expect them to jump in the ring. And then to answer your final question, yeah, I based on all this, like this got me. I'm interested in this. I'll probably, seek this match out along with the main event as well. But yeah, I would say good job here, NXT 100. This was like the first time on the show I went, all right, that was awesome. I mean, I wish it had been a little bit longer, but that's something to be said as well. It was only 6-7 minutes, so it left me wanting more. So it was good.
So Ted, does that mean that the booking of this segment worked? I mean, it got someone who doesn't normally watch the product to get invested for this match on Saturday. Is that what that they really wanted to accomplish here with kind of this go home segment?
Yes, their main goal was to make sure MSG was going to watch this match. No, I'm kidding.
It said it on the rundown sheet. We got to get Schaffer to watch this show.
I thought it worked. Now I will. Whenever I have bias, like I know someone or someone has some kind of relation to someone that I know, I will admit bias. I try not to be. I truly try to take myself out of it. But knowing that Pat McAfee has extensively worked with the man that trained me, Rip Rogers, and this was years ago when Pat McAfee, as just a fan of wrestling, wanted to learn the craft of wrestling. So to me, I can appreciate him coming in and doing this as someone that truly has an appreciation for the craft versus some ex-NFL guy that is just looking for a paycheck because wrestling's cool. You know what I mean? And I think we have seen that in the past with other guys who've made a transition from football to wrestling. He's someone that legitimately loves wrestling, sought out one of the best trainers because he wanted to learn the craft of wrestling. And now he happens to have an opportunity where he's going to get to show some of that. Matter of fact, I'll give you all a quick exclusive. I saw this posted earlier the other day. I don't know if y'all could see that. Oh, let me turn off my silly background.
You have to turn the background.
While you're doing that, I have a question. As far as McAfee, I don't listen to his podcast. As far as his natural, I guess, dialect or how he communicates, does he normally his speech pattern? Does he normally speak at like more of an accelerated rate? Like I felt like he cut when he was cutting his promo.
He's still working.
There may have been some times where he was maybe speaking a little too fast. Is that just naturally how Pat talks? Is he just a fast talker kind of guy, or could he have maybe let some of his dialogue resonate a little bit more there with Adam Cole?
Probably so. And yeah, I think he's someone also that doesn't have as much
I do the
promo,
podcast too. I get that
podcast, but it's a different style than cutting a promo, and it's easy to get excited in the moment. You're right there. And if we are critiquing this honestly, yes, I think there was points in there where he could have slowed down and allowed the moment to really resonate more. That being said, I still think the business absolutely did get done because he brought that emotion. And then when Adam Cole called him out, the facial on Pat McAfee said it all. That's when, to an extent, though, I would also say because he was running his mouth so much at the end when Adam Cole said he's going to make him his bitch and Pat didn't say anything, the dichotomy of that, the contrast really sold it because, he was running his mouth a second ago. And then all of a sudden he took out these guys and he's face to face with them. And I think that was important too, especially as someone who might be watching this angle simply for this feud. Maybe they, heard about it or otherwise just a sports fan and they wanted to check it out. This helped to legitimize Adam Cole, because to someone casually watching and tuned in, they're going to look at the two of them and say, well, Pat McAfee should whoop his ass. Of course, you're going to have the wrestling fans to say, well, Adam Cole's the NXT champion. He should whoop Pat's ass. So I think you're going to have groups of fans that are going to say, well, different things. But I think this was a perfect way to sell Adam Cole as a badass for those that might not know his NXT championship history. But at the same time, Pat McAfee putting over Adam Cole as a badass said everything just in his facial expression at the end. And so, to your point, maybe he could have slowed down, but I also think because of the conclusion of it, it ended up working in this particular scenario.
Yeah, and that's just nitpicking, obviously. I mean, he delivered a good promo, and like his emotion and his delivery itself, there wasn't anything wrong with that. I mean, he definitely got over the match, and like as you mentioned, I probably now having seen this, I probably will go out of my way to try and watch this match because it is interesting, and it does kind of cross over or bleed over into online, reality, if you will, between those two. At least the work they tried to, tell here for the fans. So I'm interested. Looks good.
Yeah, I think Pat sold his facials really well there after Cole took those 5 guys out, because you could definitely see that little bit of like, oh shit, like I kind of messed up here. Like maybe he's not this small little dude that I'm just gonna punt every time that we get in the ring. And you could really tell, like Ted said, there was that change. There was that definite change in Pat's demeanor there.
And while we're on the subject, I don't often like to give credence to things that, are through the rumor mill, but I know, Colin, we were talking a little earlier. I don't know if you wanted to talk about something that we were talking a little bit about behind this. You don't have to bring it up.
Yeah. I mean, I think if with the NFL guys working, I think a perfect person for NXT to bring back would possibly be a guy like Tino Sabbatelli. He played for the Kansas City Chiefs. He has the in-ring ability. So you could pair him up with a Pat McAfee. I think he's in AEW right now.
Not anymore.
I think he was going dark. He got cut already from AEW?
Tony Sabbatelli is apparently allegedly this is being reported by the sheets, not us here at Hami Media Group, but he's allegedly one of the names that was thrown out there that apparently stooged off that Eric Bischoff was showing up to AEW. Like he's apparently, because his girlfriend works at NXT, right? Or his wife or whoever it is. So apparently he's the one who picked the phone, called up Triple H and said, hey, Eric Bischoff's going to be on tonight. And that might have gotten his job back, because William Alessia, though, is reporting that Triple H actually has reached back out to Tony Sabbatelli. So that might have gotten his job back. I mean, he might have worked himself back into a gig, but he definitely worked himself out of a job with AEW if that's the case. Allegedly, I don't know. That's just speculation.
No, and I mean, hey, I heard it was possibly like a guy like Cesar Bonani that was possibly the stooge over there. You never know, because there's all those rumors that are floating out there, especially with the dirt sheets. But I think if Sabbatelli does come back, I mean, he played in the NFL. You can go in ahead. Hey,
he's cut. That guy's cut.
He's got the look. I mean, and they were very high on him when he was in NXT. So for him to come back and maybe side with you know what, Adam, like, he's an NFL guy, like NFL for life. Like that's, it takes a certain caliber of person to get to the NFL. Like Adam Cole, you couldn't make it in the NFL, but the two of us, we can make it here in NXT. We can do this wrestling thing. And you could work that in there. I don't know if you feel like you could work an angle, Ted, like maybe come with a storyline and maybe be able to spin the fact that Tino's going to side with this NFL guy, not like somebody from NXT. But it's like you said, this is all rumors. They might not even be bringing him back to if for anything, so.
And that's the thing. If I feel like, because I think a lot of people are bringing up a good point to saying, to have McAfee go over on Cole undermines his I guess legitimacy. But I would say it's all in how it's done. So if they utilize this as an opportunity for, say, someone like him that's an ex-NFL guy, or some other person to end up, say, he has his NFL crew gets taken out by Undisputed Era during the match, and it seems like everyone's fought off to the back, that's where certainly you could bring someone in that either is a return or someone that hasn't been seen, and use him as the reason why Pat McAfee goes over, someone that, is a wrestler or at least a clear physical specimen to help Pat McAfee go over, because then that puts heat on McAfee that still saves the legitimacy of Cole. And then you have the inevitable rubber match where Cole does go over cleanly on McAfee, and then that's the satisfying moment that hopefully that you're building towards for the fans. To me, that's what I see as possibly a way they could make this work, so that way Cole doesn't lose any legitimacy, and the fans, or otherwise casual fans that might not know, can also digest the story as well, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. Like MSG was saying, they really packed this last hour with a lot of the fun stuff that we've enjoyed over these past couple weeks, Ted. We get the Robert Stone brand versus Shotzi Blackheart and Rhea Ripley. I mean, it's a lot of, like, I know MSG is probably gonna go off on Shotzi Blackheart. Like, I like the tank, I like the look. I feel like she could be sold to kids. You've got the Robert Stone brand, the ridiculousness of him and Aliyah matched with that serious, like, hard-hitting entrance that you get from Mercedes Martinez. And then, of course, you've got the, like, I think she's probably NXT's favorite female superstar right now, and that's Rhea Ripley. I think if Full Sail was full of fans, she would be getting the biggest pops every time that she comes out. This was a fun match. I'm going to be excited for Martinez versus Ripley, because Ripley is able to take the big Mercedes Martinez out with a powerbomb over the railing onto the concrete on the outside, which allows Shotzi and Rhea Ripley to get the win over Aliyah. This is a fun little match. I think this is just gonna continue their feud here, Ted. I think we're gonna get that eventual singles match between Rhea Ripley and Mercedes Martinez. I don't know if the stipulations will lead to anything, like if it's maybe for a future #1 contendership, because again, Mercedes played a role in Rhea Ripley not getting that #1 contendership. So their feud could lead to a possible title shot, something like that down the line. Maybe Robert Stone's able to get Shotzi Blackheart to sign with his brand. Who knows? I enjoy every time that Robert Stone comes out now on my television. It's so much fun. These guys are growing on me leaps and bounds. MSG, what are your thoughts on Robert Stone, Aliyah, Mercedes Martinez, and then this match?
So first of all, a couple things. Shout out to chat room. Daniel Price, he says he's going to record himself making a hot tag to his teenager when he doesn't want to change the baby. Quote, "Don't sell to that dirty diaper, son. Tag me." I thought that was pretty good. Like, and then also Chef Fandangle says that he listens to the Pat McAfee podcast and he speaks fast on his show. He's kind of sporadic, great energy. So if that's just Pat McAfee's natural, genuine speech pattern, I like that even more. That means he wasn't really trying to be something. He wasn't trying to play a pro wrestler, if you will. He was just being himself there. But to this tag team match,
real quick, I digress. I love that people are already chipping in these ideas. If you all really put these out there and y'all have these funny
seriously
skits,
do it.
I will. Yeah. I will. I'm going to go ahead and I don't care if I get heat with them with Ben. I will put them on the Hamid Media Group YouTube page, because we're trying to obviously help grow that page anyway. And I'm all about sharing the ridiculous skits you all come up with.
That could be viral. Viral.
Absolutely.
Hot tag challenge.
Yeah, you all might get blown up just doing something ridiculous like that.
Hot tag challenge. You heard it here first on the Next Level Wrestling Review, guys.
Hashtag hot talent. Hot tag
I can't
challenge.
wait to see some of these. But anyway, I digress. So, the match.
Yeah, to get to your match. Okay, so I personally, obviously, I know who Robert Stone is, the wrestler. I did the podcast back in the day with the Matt Coon guy. Obviously, he was an Impact doing the hey Jersey Shore. I honestly think I've got a box here. I'll get it after you're done. Where I think I've got some Robert Stone apparel when he was doing his Jersey stuff. Sure, I can go grab here. But like. So first off, Shotzi Blackheart, don't go online and complain about your Honda Civic getting broken into and you have a tank to drive to the ring. Come on. Ridiculous. I drive a 2012 Kia Rio and you got a tank to drive to the ring. I don't want to hear you complain about it on Twitter. But I digress. I liked this match. I mean, I liked Shotzi Blackheart's got a cool look. That was really the first time I've ever actually watched her wrestle. So I think she's got she doesn't even really need to say anything just by looking at her and what her whole gimmick is. She's very animated. She's a character, right? Rhea Ripley, obviously her being, one of the big cornerstones of NXT and of just WWE's women's division itself for their future. So I like them. Mercedes Martinez, obviously a very a veteran of this industry as well. So the other girl, I don't know who she was. I saw a lot of people in the chat room saying they didn't think she was, I guess she's newer. They found her to be kind of green, and the only reason why she was in there was with Mercedes Martinez, and because Robert Stone needed another body. But I would have liked maybe just kind of a little bit more background on the Robert Stone. Like, was he do, because he had somebody else, right? And then she left. Zack Ryder's wife or fiance, Chelsea Green, right? So like I knew that just because I knew that from the sheets and just from listening to all the review shows. Maybe it would have been cool just to give me a little bit more about Robert Stone and his brand, what makes the Robert Stone a brand. I don't know. But this also was a go home show, so it's not necessarily time to also introduce new storylines and new things, right? You're trying to get over the current talent as well. So it was a good match. I didn't not like it.
Yeah. And to your point, that is fair. It is a go home show. And that's where, though, I feel like it's the job of, say, like the announcers to tell a little bit of that story. Sure, you can't tell everything about every, little bit of the story arc that happened over the last several weeks, but you could at least help, and just talk about some of the slimy stuff that he's done.
You Skyped out.
I don't really recall what the commentator said, so they may have put it over.
We're joined by Robert Stone, Jersey Shore. Robert
guys?
Stone.
Oh! I got all my old TNA swag here from back in the day. I got this in a free box. Like you buy some DVDs and Don West. Here you go. He threw me some free shit. So I'm Robert Stoned out.
That's awesome. Ted, you kind of your internet kind of went
you broke
out
up
there a little bit. Yeah, you broke up.
Sorry. What I was saying is I feel like it's the commentator's job to, it is a go home show, to really do more of the, I guess, telling of that story. And that's where I'll be honest, I didn't really listen as far as what they were saying. So they may have explained a little bit about it, but to your point, yes, I always am all about context, and the more context you can provide for the viewer, the more you're going to get the stuff in the ring over. So perhaps they could have done more to sell that story. That being said, of course, my biggest issue with this tag match was there was not a hot tag. I'm still upset. Now, someone earlier, I think in the chat room was saying some people might be confused on what a hot tag is. A hot tag is just all about, you build the heat, the desire, the want, or the need for the tag to happen for the baby faces. So you have the baby face scratch and claw their way to the corner, and the baby faces finally barely make the tag, with the heel being hot on their heels to get them. This happened when this tag, both competitors were all the way across the ring, the maximum amount of distance and the least amount of intrigue, because they're all the way apart. There was no threat of the babyface being pulled away from the hot tag. So the hot tag is simply the baby faces are so close, they might not get it. They might not get it. Oh my gosh, they barely just got it. This was not barely. They were clear across the ring. So you have no excitement in that when there's the most distance possible. And so that essentially is what a hot tag is. There's several ways you can do it, but this was not one of them, unfortunately.
Look, y'all are going to make Ted get so angry about no hot tags that he's going to call Adam Revolver. They're going to get back together, and they're going to go down to Full Sail, and they're going to show you guys.
No, we're jacking them. The Elite.
I was saying, and we're going to bring back the Elite, because legally we still have the rights to it. We've talked it over, actually, and elected not to pursue it simply because at some point, if the circumstances happen, I would absolutely.
Business. You can work business.
Right. Exactly. It's not so much like wanting to, sell it to them or anything, but more so I might one day, if the opportunity came, if the right circumstances happen. Obviously, I'm not just going to say I would take any job, but I might one day potentially want to work for AEW or any of these other companies. So I try very much not to burn bridges if I don't have to. I try to be professional and honest in everything I say. So even when I am critiquing these matches, it's not like I'm shitting on them. I'm just saying, hey, they could have done a hell of a lot more with what they had. So to that point, yes, if this keeps going, we might have to reform the Elite, the real Elite, the original Elite, and show them what a motherfucking hot tag is, because I am getting hot about it. Search OVW Elite, and you can see what a hot tag is, because I'm pretty sure we never did a match where a hot tag did not happen. So I digress. Sorry.
I do think that the hot tag died the minute that Roman Reigns said that he was going to sit out the whole wrestling process with COVID-19, because you could get it like the Shield was like the master of the hot tag, where Seth or Dean would be in so much trouble, and then they would get that Roman Reigns tag, and he would ooh-ah and forearm people and Superman punch people and spear people. I think Roman Reigns took the hot tag with him when he went to go sit out on the sidelines. I don't
maybe
know
so.
That,
We'll blame Roman Reigns.
We're
blame him for everything else. Might as well.
Yeah. Let's just blame him for the hot tag. Yeah, that works. North American Championship qualifier. We're here with the main event. We've got Finn Balor versus the Velveteen Dream.
Wait a minute. You're just gonna gloss over the Karrion Kross and Keith Lee video package? The only thing that was actually freaking good on this show.
It was like a video package. I mean,
yeah, but like this is the champ. Package. This is the champ. Like this is what you've got representing as your go home show. Keith Lee and Karrion Kross and a little video package, little vignette. Nothing.
The reason why we get the video package is because Keith Lee was his eyes were burned badly last week.
Okay, then Kross could have cut a promo. Kross could have cut a backstage VTR. I could have sent that in. Probably
getting ready for this match. You know, he's very cerebral.
Show me that.
He's very cerebral.
Show me something.
You don't want to show your game plan. They can't know what's going on in that hideout that Karrion Kross and Scarlett. What kind of magic, what kind of occult mysticism that these guys are working up in the den.
It's not selling me on buying the pay-per-view then. And that's supposed to be what you're doing, selling your main event. And they weren't even on the show. They got that nice video package I thought was really obviously well produced by Borash and his team there. But like I was like, that's it? That's all we got? This is your main event? This is your go home? Anyway, go ahead, North American Championship match.
No, I mean Ted, do you feel the same way about the package though?
Hold on, sorry. I got distracted trying to catch up on the comments. Whose package are we talking about?
We're talking about Keith Lee and Karrion Kross's package.
I'm talking about the fact that they didn't do I didn't think they did enough of like showing Karrion Kross or just Keith Lee on the show itself. And this is your main event, right? This is the big title fight.
So MSG, yeah, he's mad. It's a go home show. We didn't get the main event on the go home show. They gave us a video package.
Yeah,
I can see that point. Perhaps to that point, they could have had, one either Keith Lee. Well, really, I guess you would have had both, because Keith Lee's still on the cell potentially from last week. He had a fireball thrown in his face. So yeah, perhaps we could have gotten a medical update, because the viewer at home, there was really no carryover from that other than what people saw in the package. So I mean, that package could have led to a quick promo by Keith Lee, and put over, that he's still healing, but he's going to take out Kross, whatever. Keith Lee cuts a good promo, so why not? And that's where also you got to think of the strength of the promo as well, because certain people you would not want them to have the final promo for the go home show. Keith Lee is not one of those people. He cuts a good promo. Karrion Kross cuts a good promo, I think.
Now, do you think it would? I think it would have been visually cool if they'd gone to the medical update, and then after the medical update, maybe Kross is watching it on something, or cuts back to Kross.
Exactly.
Kross doesn't have to say anything, and he just laughs. Like that's all you had to do. Like, and I would have been like, all right, Kross.
Yeah.
They didn't really give me that.
I like that. I can feel that. I could, so they could have done the package the exact way they laid it out. Keith Lee cuts a fiery promo, how he's going to rise from the ashes despite the fireball and take out Karrion Kross. And then we see Petered in the corner, Karrion Kross watching on in red abyss of the locker room, pun halfway intended, laughing maniacally with Scarlett. And that's it. And that you're hyped for the match. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, we got something similar too at Great American Bash. I mean, when Keith Lee won his match, they did cut to like a control room with Karrion Kross and Scarlett kind of watching. They were in there, like they were in like the room watching the match. It's like a skybox or something like that. Like and
that's great, Colin. But let's take into consideration that a casual viewer like myself who normally watches maybe AEW tonight, I don't know all that other stuff. You know what I mean?
No, and so that's what I'm saying. They've done that before. Like that, what could them to be able to do it again? What's stopping them?
Right.
They've had him kind of looming over.
And to that point, what you just said about people who watch AEW, last night was an opportunity for NXT to capture some of those viewers. And so absolutely, that was where it was even more necessary for them to educate viewers on who these characters are and what exactly was going on.
Now, do you think that could have been something where, again, these are pre-taped shows? So, I mean, I don't know how much in advance they would have known about, AEW being preempted to where they could go back and kind of put in tidbits to let people like Matt or somebody who's coming over doesn't necessarily follow it, but it's like, oh man, I want to watch some wrestling on Wednesday night. AEW's not on. I'll watch NXT. And then you're able to kind of reel them in with like Matt saying, give me a little bit of insight on who these people are going into the match. Just a little bit, just enough.
Right. Yeah. Little stuff here and there. Mm-hmm. And somebody in the chat room, I want to put them over because they made a good point as well. As we're talking about, they need to educate people on the show. It was Daniel Price in the chat room. Shout out. The other part of that is you don't want to become a broken record either and assume everybody has ADD. I really do have ADD, but you don't want to assume and keep making the same points over and over. So it's all about how you tell that story. And I think each segment is an opportunity to tell that slice of the pie, so to speak. And so that's where it just comes down to knowing how you are speaking to your audience. So I think it is hugely important to educate the audience, but he brings up a good point. You don't want to beat a dead horse either, because people are going to get sick of that too.
No, I mean, that's fair as well. I think that also you do have to take into consideration that, and you've done commentating, 10, and I've done like commentating. You kind of want to treat every match like somebody is watching it for the first time. So sometimes you do need to beat things over the head in the viewer.
Yeah, but only in that one
that might be the only
segment. Yeah.
Right. But this might be the only time I ever watch it. So to me, like, I felt like they should have been doing everything they could to capture that AEW fan tonight who might not have been watching wrestling. And I think they kind of fell short in certain aspects. I like the main event, and you're going to get into that here, but I did, I thought the North American stuff they did, this was great. This North American title, like I felt going away from this match here at the end of the night, like that this was more important than the main NXT championship. That seemed like the level of importance they put on it, and this felt like this was the main event, not the gold belt as you guys are calling it on this brand.
No, well, I have to kind of agree with you. They've done a really good job, Matt, of the opportunity, because I mean they had Regal cut a promo, they had Keith Lee cut this promo at a desk about wanting to give others opportunity. Like they're really putting shine on this belt to make this NXT North American Championship something, and to really
by the way,
put some luster on it.
I want to point out continuity. There was a disconnect between continuity here, though. In one scene, you showed me Keith Lee becoming the dual champion and having this feud with Killer Kross. In the next scene, we jump over. Now we're in a vacated 5-man ladder match. Somebody should have said that Keith Lee vacated the title. Like I had to find that out from the chat room. So that there, I felt like there was some disconnection.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't have that, because he I mean, that was a big part of the show. I mean, they started, I mean, I think the first 10 or 15 minutes of NXT on that show was Regal and Keith Lee going back and forth, kind of like, Regal cut his thing and then Lee did his thing, and then they went back to Regal where he was like, all right, well, in lieu of him giving up his title, we're going to do a ladder match, like opportunity this, opportunity that. Like it's all about opportunity. And I think that they missed an opportunity tonight, like Ted was saying, to maybe reel some of those AEW viewers in by not kind of rehashing some of those things. And to your point about treating it like, you've got new viewers all the time. One of my favorite like MMA podcasts I used to listen to, the host of the show always would talk about MMA and explain things, because he's like, you never know who, he's been doing it for almost 20 years now. You never know who is listening to your show, and it could be a new person into MMA and may not know all the rules or know all these things. So they always try to explain things like there's always somebody who's watching it for the first time. So no
That's
matter
how
what
I did my South Park podcast. It's the South Park podcast. At the top of every show, I can tell you exactly what the podcast is about and what we're doing. You know what I mean? Because that might be the only episode you ever listen to.
Yeah. No, you should always treat it like you have new listeners listening all the time.
And it would have been a simple transition too, because they just did the promo for Keith Lee and Karrion Kross, and it could have been something as, well, there you see they're going for, they're going to have the NXT championship. Of course, we know Keith Lee a few weeks ago relinquished the North American Championship, and we're going to find out who the last competitor is right now. You know what I mean? And that would have been as
Moro
simple
says
as that.
They throw up a simple image, done. Like, and I would have been connected. Oh, okay, cool. He vacated the title. That makes sense.
Yeah, it works. But as you said, as you alluded to there, Schaefer, we're getting Finn Balor versus Velveteen Dream. Velveteen Dream goes over in this match. This was a very fun match. Then we get all of the competitors. It got a little screwy here. I wish they didn't quite play up all the competitors. I was okay when Cameron Grimes came out, because as being my favorite, I feel like let him come out, try to hold him with his title, be just more of a dastardly heel with it, sit there and just talk junk, just run his mouth the whole entire time. But no, he was there to fall on the ref as they end up knocking the ladder over. He falls on the ref. We get a ref spot. Johnny Gargano comes out, tries to steal the title. Bronson Reed stops him. We get Damian Priest jumps up from behind. We get Damian Priest and Bronson Reed taking each other out after taking Johnny Gargano out. Then we finally get the finish of the match, and Velveteen Dream goes over with the elbow off the top rope. I was kind of surprised that that they did this with Velveteen Dream. Knowing the WWE and the way they do these things, I now would not be surprised if they slap this NXT North American title on Velveteen Dream, just as a big FU to everybody. This is something that they would do. And I see Ted has that look like, please don't do that. Don't give this man the title. I feel like the business of this match again was to find a winner of this match, but I felt like all the people getting involved just kind of really took away from the match. And I may be the only one that felt like that. Dr. Ted, if you want to jump in on what I've said first before we go to Matt, feel free.
Well, I'm trying to I always try to look at all these decisions objectively and take my emotions out of it. That's where it's hard here, because based on the allegations against Velveteen Dream, my first reaction is he's done. I wouldn't want him booked or anything. We had a similar situation happen at OVW, and that was it. In the story, out of here. No, you're done. That being said, I also objectively feel like there is a due process. I don't know. I was not privy to the investigation that happened here. That being said, they have not made any kind of comment on it or even implied that, he's been vindicated. So all people know is he potentially was doing sexually predatory behavior, and now he's back on NXT. Even if you don't necessarily even have to name drop him, but even to put, a statement on the corporate website saying that WWE understands, allegations against one of our talents, and we take these allegations very seriously. We've done a thorough investigation, yada, yada, but we haven't gotten any of that. All we know is these allegations came out. He went away for a while, and now he's back. I have a hard time justifying that, honestly. I get it. He is insanely talented. He absolutely could be a future main eventer here. That does not justify putting out someone that is being seen as a sexual predator as a star on your program. Even if it is to put someone else over, you're still giving him the spotlight by giving him that TV time, and then putting him over on one of your top guys on the NXT roster right now, Finn Balor. One of the more valuable assets to the NXT roster, having been to the main event or main roster and being a former WWE champion. So I have a hard time really justifying that decision, but I also acknowledge that a lot of that is emotionally, I doesn't sit right with me. So I just have to at least admit my bias there, but I think a lot of people do feel the same way. And the fact that it is seemingly just been swept under the rug without even so much as a statement, which even implied that they were taking this seriously and really looking into it, I think it really sends the wrong message, unfortunately.
If I can jump in here, just to be fair, actually Triple H, Willie Mousy reported last night in the Homie Media Group that on the NXT conference call for this Saturday's TakeOver 30 conference call, it was actually asked about Velveteen Dream, and Triple H said that we looked into it. We didn't find anything there in the matter of what we were looking for, and we moved on. But that doesn't change the fact that we take it seriously. If there is something else there, we'll look into it. That goes across the board for anybody, but we've already talked about it, so I'd rather just move on to other topics. So I guess maybe they're assuming this is going to get picked up by the sheets. But that is the only statement to Triple H's credit as far as something being said, if you will.
But to be fair, that statement was very much reactive and not proactive.
Oh, yeah.
And that
it's on a conference
that to me
call.
is the problem. You know, culturally, that's a problem. A company, and this is where, you know, even at OVW when stuff like this went down, I would butt heads with Al sometimes about, you know, I understand that we don't want to make a big issue out of this, but we also want to be proactive and let people know this is not tolerable behavior. Like the one issue that I was talking about, they ended up just getting swept under the rug, whereas I would have, and I wanted to come up with a statement saying, we're not booking this guy anymore. This is why we take this seriously. And if you know of any other of these type of behaviors, please inform us. You know what I mean? Because who's to say that someone else won't take advantage of that situation? And as we've seen, unfortunately, in the world of wrestling, there has been a lot of sexually deviant behavior. Now, again, I absolutely feel like, as the other side of the coin is, everyone does deserve due process. And if people really are vindicated, saying someone like I think Enzo a couple years ago had a situation happen, and then, you know, he just was out, and then
follow me on the real one on the gram.
And that's where everybody has to be held under the same regulations. You know what I mean? There can't be a double standard. And I feel like even if that is not the case, that is absolutely the message I feel like that is being sent, is that there is a double standard depending on where your status is on the roster. And that's never okay.
How you doing?
Yeah. No, that's definitely not something that you want to portray, especially with a lot of the speaking out and Me Too movement and stuff that's going on. But it just seems like the WWE just tends to just spit in the face of these types of things, unless it's something that's just really
they spit in the face of people they don't think are cool. Yes, that is pretty accurate.
They just pretty much, I mean, unless there was hard evidence, kind of like with the Hulk Hogan thing, like where they could be like, yeah, look, we got you on tape, like this, you said what you said, like we're disassociating with you for a time being, kind of thing, until all this clears over. I can totally see that. But I feel like how you said, Ted, they let him go over on Finn Balor. Like they either have something in the works for him, or they're just wanting him to kind of be in that ladder match, maybe because they know with the dirt that he has on him that it'll bring some eyes maybe to it. Just be like, oh man, Velveteen Dream's in that ladder match. Oh, I guess I'll watch it so I can watch him get hit with a ladder or something like that. But then again, in that same vein, it could turn people off. They're like really, like, this dude has been alleged to have done this, and now they're putting him in the show. I'm not watching.
I think there's also something to be said from a corporate structure as well. You know what I mean? You know, they are a publicly traded company. You know, if the process was done right, you know, if they looked into it and didn't find anything, and no police records were ever claimed, and let's say in this case Velveteen Dream was more upfront about it, right? He went to WWE, unlike Enzo, who technically hid it. He didn't come forward about it, and that's why what he got in trouble about. You know, maybe Velveteen openly went to them, say, hey, these allegations are coming out against me, they're not true, and because of his open and honesty and their results, they were like, okay, well, we're going to move forward as well. And from an HR standpoint, you kind of have to do that. You know, if you're working with these type of, no matter what type of corporate field, you're going to come across people who you might be, oh, they have some questionable behavior, but there's nothing to show, you know, or show evidence that says otherwise. So we have to move forward as if, you know, that they're still within good graces and they haven't done anything wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't dispute that point, MSG. I would say it goes back around to, though, from a cultural standpoint, I feel like that's where, even if that is the case, that as a company, you have to be proactive with that and let people know, hey, we understand this happened. Again, you don't even necessarily have to name drop it, but the fact that it took them being called out about it for them to even make a statement, to me, that unfortunately says a lot. And I'm not saying that in a good way, unfortunately.
Well, let's talk about this match. All
right, fine. Let's talk.
Let's get into this. Matt, I'll go to you first so we can get the professional opinion from Dr. Ted. Did this match do it for you? Do you feel like the business was done in this match? Even as convoluted as it kind of got there in the middle, what were your thoughts on kind of everything that happened?
Well, I mean, overall, obviously the business of this match, in my opinion, I'm seeing it, is that it was to get over the North American Championship match. It was definitely That's how they went off the air, right? With the Rodney guy, or the Bronson Rodney, whatever his name is. I'm sorry.
Bronson Reed.
Why did I'm thinking Rodney of Trailer Trash Chammy again. Bronson Reed. I watched that video like a dozen times.
It's so good.
So Bronson Reed, anyway, yes. So I liked how that went off the air with him holding the title, and, him holding up. So you're making a case that, hey, this big guy is going to win. And, in comparison to the other participants in this match, he definitely is more of the lesser known, right? So you're showcasing even a lesser known talent, giving him that spotlight as you go off the air. So I liked that, but there was a little bit of the schmoz fest there with the referee getting knocked down and everybody coming out and jumping all over each other. To your point, I liked Grimes, right? That's what his name is.
Mm-hmm.
Him being up on the ladder, like for his character, while I might not necessarily like his character, it works well. Like him being that slimy, conniving type of character who would be up on the ladder, kind of like jaw jacking and trying to distract his opponents as he's, enamored over this championship belt. So I like that. But then, Punishment Martinez came out and the other guy came out and everybody just started breaking down, and then it ended with Velveteen Dream beating Finn Balor. So, it wasn't a bad match. But like you said, the business was to get over the main event, not necessarily this match itself, right? I think that people probably thought going in anyway that Velveteen Dream probably was going to end up beating Finn Balor. At least I had that impression. I was like, I don't think they're not going to put Velveteen Dream in this. I think Finn Balor's got a big enough recognizable name where he doesn't necessarily need that spotlight in that match.
There was a part too that I think that Finn Balor may have gotten some comeuppance on Velveteen Dream when he had him in the Tree of Woe in the corner and he was kicking him. He got a little high, and if you go back and watch, he actually kicks Velveteen right in the crotch, and they cut to Cameron Grimes on top of the ladder, and he is just hooting and hollering and laughing like, oh yeah, like so they made that real quick cut because like you see him kick Velveteen like grabs his nuts as he falls off the Tree of Woe, and then they cut to Cameron Grimes like really. So I don't know if maybe Finn kind of got that nut shot in there to get that nut shot in there, or if he was just kicking the midsection and Velveteen kind of slid down a little bit into the nut shot. Now, Ted, you might be able to kind of tell us the mechanics on the Tree of Woe, and maybe he was kind of putting in a shot because Finn was going off on social media about Velveteen Dream. He even posted a picture where it was Finn Balor versus a bag of trash for the championship title on Twitter, and it got a little bit of feedback from people and kind of floated around the internet there. But Ted, what were your thoughts overall on the bookings of this match?
Ted, he better not have tried to kick him in the nuts, because you don't kick a guy in the nuts, buddy. Sorry, go ahead. You don't.
I honestly, I don't know if it was or not. I will say certainly it happens in wrestling all the time when you get a chance to work with someone that you have some kind of personal history with it. There's times when wrestlers will pick their spots to lay it in a little more. So whether that happened or not, certainly it's possible. So I don't disregard that. As far as the business, as you all implied, this was all about building to that North American ladder match. And really it was about building to the shotgun finish with all the guys coming out and hyping the match, which I thought for that reason, for that business, in my opinions of Velveteen Dream notwithstanding, I thought it was good business in that it helped hype the match. It was exciting, and everyone had a little chance to shine here. I especially was surprised, usually because they're pretty good at not allowing guys to wear branded things other than WWE brands on there. So I actually popped for the Slipknot shirt for Damian Priest. I'm a metalhead, so that was kind of surprising, and I popped for it. But as far as the business goes, I truly am interested to see what happens here on Saturday. I really am.
Are you the kind of guy, Ted, that hung out with? Do you hang out with any juggalos, any ICP peeps in your area? Why do you say that? I don't know. I just like you're in the metal. I'm into metal music as well. So
actually, back in the day, believe it or not, as much as I will admit, I used to be really into ICP, and I
got friends who are juggalos.
And there's, so. I have nothing bad to say. It was something I was into when I was younger, and then kind of, I don't want to say grew out of it because I feel like that's demeaning, but I moved into other interests, as people with ADD are inclined to do.
Your tastes change.
That being said, as a wrestler, even after falling out of listening to them, I've worked at the Gathering of the Juggalos, and it was actually one of my favorite experiences that I had, and I would love to go back and do it again sometime. They took care of us, and everyone had a great time, and so I really have nothing bad to say. But just more so.
Were you married when you wrestled at the Gathering of the Juggalos?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Wait, okay. No, I take that back. Actually, I had too many bumps to the head. No, I was not.
Gathering the Juggalos. Anyway, Colin, go ahead.
Schaffer, I have to say those shorts that you're wearing really fit your Jersey Shore gimmick that you're trying to put over right now. I don't know what you got going on with those shorts, but they're very crazy the times that you've gotten up during the show. Now, I think that's it for the show. Dr. Ted, do you have any homework for us this week?
So this actually, it was difficult for me to come up with assignment because we are at a go-home show. And so I felt like anything assignment-wise is potentially going to change by the time we get to next week, as far as, telling us what should happen on the next beat here. So I'm actually going to have a little more fun with it. This week's homework assignment, actually, really going to build towards the back half of the year. What I want is you can choose either a baby face or a heel, woman or man. I want you to turn them and make them the top. So either I want you to give me an established heel and turn them into the top baby face by the end of the year, or I want you to give me a baby face and turn them to the top heel by the end of the year. Now, keep in mind, this is all about emotionally investment. So if you're going to turn a babyface heel, I want you to let me know why I should hate that heel. What is that heel taking away from the audience that makes them a heel, or vice versa? As a heel, and that's actually I feel like a lot of times the harder of the two. How can you get the audience to start getting behind a heel and start making them become emotionally invested and caring about that heel turning into a babyface and becoming successful? So this is kind of just picking someone from the roster and booking it out toward the end of the year, make them either your top babyface or your top heel based on a turn. We're going to change it up a little bit. This doesn't have anything relevant to current stories, but just for fun, I want to see how creative everyone can get and see what kind of potential top stars we could get down the line.
I like it because you don't know what kind of resets and restarts could happen after this TakeOver 30, and it's a big one. I mean, Kross could come walking out of there as champion. We're going to have a new NXT North American champion, maybe a new women's champion. So, there's no telling.
Absolutely.
And there is some weird music playing.
Oh.
I hate any website that Mandatory owns. They just have the worst pop-ups that just, oh my God, just random swing music just started playing on my headphones. I didn't know what that was. I thought you were actually playing an outro for the show there, Ted. That's how confusing that was for me. But
I was confused.
MSG, put over your social media and tell everyone where they can find you.
Yeah, so of course, normally each and every week I host Impact Attack with Mr. Dr. B here. Yesterday we had Two Woke Teddy on, so you can go check that episode out with Ben Hameen. Normally, each and every Thursday morning, I'm live on twitch.tv/Conspiracy Horseman with Chris Silvio and Ben Hameen for the best. I don't want to scream like the LAX guys, but the best AEW review show. So you can check that out. Now, we might be live this Saturday. We might be doing some sort of watch along for the show. Sylvia wants to do that. And I don't have to go to bed right away then. So we might do something live. We'll see. But you can also check out that. Like the Fuse, send in your emails each and every week to likethefusehmg@gmail.com, or drop a comment in the Discord server set up here by Mr. Wysong, and we will read your comments. And you can also check out my other podcast, Suck My Balls, a South Park review. Each and every week, me and my best friend review the episodes in linear fashion, which means from beginning to current. And they are 307 episodes deep and not stopping anytime soon. So,
the next one you're doing, right, is the big one. That's the South Park movie.
Yep, right? The next one we are recording is going to be the South Park movie. So look out for that one. That should be a fun podcast to do. Absolutely. We are thinking about doing it. We might do it live, so we don't know yet either. I might be doing a couple things live here. And then also I want to put over a brand new podcast that just dropped today. He is Hami Media Group's #1 supporter. And I just want to clarify that before we started this 5-star contest, we had already had this in the works to give this guy his own show, and that is Triple D. You guys know him as the owner of Dippin' Donuts, Zordos Olive Oil, sponsor of the show, guy who's invested thousands of dollars into indie professional wrestling, and Ben Hameen and Hameen Media Group himself. Brand new podcast, Triple D's Star Trek podcast. So every Thursday or every other Thursday, he'll drop a Star Trek podcast, and that's out right now on HamiMediaGroup.podbean.com. And going head to head is the New Force Order, the Star Wars podcast, which you can check out on hackerhameen.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Matthew_Schaffer. Jesus Christ, I had a lot to get over there. There you go.
Yeah, that was a lot to get over. Right? You know,
hold on. I always forget too. I talked about the homework, and I always forget to let people know where they can send it. Next Level Wrestling Review at gmail.com. Just that way people actually have somewhere to send it, so they don't have to write it and then be like, oh, I don't got anywhere to send it now. So if you want to send in your homework, Next Level Wrestling Review at gmail.com. Sorry, go ahead, Colin.
No, I was going to say these Greek guys, they can't seem to get along. We're going to have beef between GGP and Triple D, between the Star Trek fans and the Star Wars nerds. It's gonna be crazy here on Hami Media with all these guys just flaming each other.
Luckily, though, we have some Zordo's olive oil that we can always bring between these guys to help bridge the gap and bring some peace, because as we know, delicious olive oil can bring everybody together.
Also, Colin, Stevie Richards and Big Sour Trekkies. So I think I got Triple D's got some good guys in his corner.
He's got a giant in his corner as well. Yeah. Dr. Ted, fun fact, when we first started doing the Zordos olive oil on the Smack Attack, I made the joke that the Zordos olive oil had many, many uses, and I would use it to rub it on my nipples.
Wow.
After the Fiend had our son,
and that's why he's not on the Smack Attack anymore.
The nurse came in with a little thing of olive oil and said, "Hey, rub this on your nipples." So I started in the medical community. Zordos, if you want premium olive oil for your nipples, ZordosOliveOil.com. Go get that Zordos family olive oil. It's like 99% pure olive oil. It's some of the best stuff that you can get on the market. I'm shilling now like the professor too. You guys can find me on Twitter at Colin Wysong. You can find me every week here on the Next Level Wrestling Review with Man Beast, Dr. Ted. He's the man. He's over here giving you guys an education in NXT for free. You definitely guys. I am starting to get on board with the fact that we need to be paying Ben Hameen and Ted and Stevie and all these guys who dish out all this information each week. No, all you indie wrestlers that listen are getting a free education and not paying Rip or any of these guys the thousands of dollars that they deserve to be teaching you this stuff. And then you can also listen to Cage Theory. I'm not on the show. I produce it. John Hartnett, Bulletproof Blake Troop, JB. It's a really fun show to do. It's the real stuff. It's real fighting. It's UFC. And then every Thursday, we drop the Ridiculously Random podcast on the pwhustlenetworks.podbean.com. So, guys, go and check out all the shows at hackerhameen.podbean.com and the hameenmediagroup.podbean.com. And go check out the Discord. There's a lot of fun.
And go check out Barn Burner TV with Ted every Sunday.
Definitely go check out Barn Burner TV. But I was going to let Ted get those plugs in. I got a munchkin behind me. She's popping in. I guess you can probably see that now. But go check out the Discord. There's a lot of fun interactions in there. Billy Ray Valentine's in there now. A bunch of people are starting to join. It's really growing. I think we may have 30 to 40 people in there now, and there's constantly people in there engaging with each other. Sooner or later, the Facebook overlords are going to really crack down on what we can post on Facebook, but we own the Discord server. Ben Hameen owns the Discord server. He can put whatever he wants in there. So guys, go and check out the Discord server if you're tired of Mark Zuckerberg just doing what he does on Facebook.
Tweet at Bello being Bello. Get him into that Discord server. I've been bugging him. So go tweet him and make him get in there.
Go bother Bello.
Yeah.
But yes, every Sunday. Well, so actually, it's funny you bring that up. I'm having such a good time, and so I'm trying to think of a good way to say this. Well, I'll just go straight to the point. We're actually getting ready to I wouldn't say wrap up, but as far as being on Barn Burner, the What Makes You Tick show we do every Sunday, we're going to do 2 more weeks. But because of all the great stuff we're doing here with Hameen Media, I'm actually going to take a step back from that. And we are still going to produce the show, but I think we're going to make it a monthly special and put it up on YouTube somewhere. So be on the lookout for it. But in the meantime, we have 2 more weeks every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do a deep dive, and we'll probably spend the last 2 weeks doing more deep diving into myself and my co-host, referee Daniel Spencer from Impact Wrestling, and talking about just some of the stuff that helped us to, I guess, develop the knowledge that we do have and get to our respective points in our careers. And so it should be a lot of fun. We'll do that every Sunday. And of course, you can catch me on all the other Hameen Media shows that I'm a part of: Monday Locker Room, The Impact Attack, of course, the Next Level Wrestling Review each and every week. I would say I enjoy talking wrestling. And so I'm absolutely okay with giving out, I guess, knowledge and information for free as we break it down. But certainly if there are wrestlers out there that do want more specialized coaching, I do offer that as well. You can always hit me up at bookthedoctor@gmail.com. I'd say my rates compared to other wrestling schools are more than affordable. And so certainly if you are looking for some individualized help or education, then I would say feel free to reach out. I'd be glad to chat with you and see what we can do to help make you a star. And I'd be more than glad to do that. But in the meantime, you can follow me on social media at Ted the Man Beast or Facebook, Ted McNaylor. And as always, for my good buddy, young Grasshopper Colin Wysong, and our special guest, MSG, we will catch you next week on the Next Level Wrestling Review. See ya.
I'm done recording.
Sweet. Oh, wait, I guess hold on. But we're still on YouTube.
We're live on YouTube.
You all on infidels. Come
now
back.
we can really say all the cool stuff. No, not really. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll catch you soon.